Ladies and gentlemen, for the past 5 years, a darkness has loomed over this country. After January 6th, this country was facing tumult, and I was scared. Someone had planted pipe bombs, the DNC and the RNC, and we didn't know who. We didn't know who. And this loomed over us every single day. You know, just the other day, I was talking to my wife, and she was asking me, are they ever going to find him? And I said, honey, I just don't know. I don't know. And it had me scared for the future of my children and yours, to be honest, because I love you and I care about you. But this is the fear that has taken over this country in the past several years. Today, thanks to the hard and diligent work of my good friend, Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, good friends, we got him. We got him! They arrested the J6 pipe bomber, and now we can sleep easy. I saw that news, and I said to my wife, honey, it's gonna be okay. And that's when I realized we were going places. This country was coming back, baby. A DOJ that was taking these problems seriously. Criminals would no longer go free. And then Pete Hegseth blew up another narco boat, and we cracked the champagne. I hope you're all deeply entertained. Apparently, this guy that they've arrested, everyone's calling Urkel because he looks like Steve Urkel, which no one saw this one coming. There were reports that came out through the Blaze that the individual may be this Capitol Police woman, but she had an alibi. Someone recorded a video of her playing with puppies, which of course proves everything. Although, to be honest, there are now several people saying, yeah, no way this guy's really the person, and they think this is all a hoax. I don't know. We'll talk about that, and I'll pretend to be distressed and try to make the show as dramatic as possible for your entertainment. So, my friends, welcome to Timcast IRL. I am your host, Tim Pool, ever so emotional and dramatic. Before we get started, we got a great sponsor for you. It is Beam Dream. Man, I love me some Beam Dream. My friends, go to shopbeam.com/TimPool and pick up your nighttime blend to support better sleep. My favorite, the cinnamon cocoa, which we got right here. It is a delicious cup of hot cocoa. It's got magnesium, melatonin, L-theanine, and a bunch more to help you sleep at night. I drink this every single night. Not a joke. Totally serious. They sent this to us. They said, try our products if you want, we want to sponsor the show. And I tried it out. And I was like, this is pretty good. I don't know. Fine. And then after a couple days, my sleep score improved because I have a sleep tracker. I started feeling way better. I didn't even realize I could be sleeping better. So shout out to Beam Dream. It's an amazing product. Right now, they got this great deal for you. It's you go to beamdream.com/TimPool and you can get up to 50% off, the lowest price it's ever been. It's available now. Check it out. shopbeam.com/TimPool. Again, shout out to Beam Dream for sponsoring the show. And don't forget, my friends, go to castbrew.com and pick up your sweet, refreshing, and delicious pool water. That's right. If you ever want to drink pool water, now's your chance. Only this is not pool water from a swimming pool, which would be disgusting. It is artesian water from Virginia that is branded pool water. So it actually is real drinking water that tastes great. And you can always offer your friends and guests, hey, you want to drink some pool water? And they're going to say, oh, no, what? No, check this out. And they'll be very excited. And I'm also very happy to announce that for those that are in the D.C. area, head over to Mother Shuckers in Martinsburg, where you can purchase a crisp, refreshing bottle because this amazing restaurant now sells it. We're going places, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, maybe one day pool water will be available for you in your nearest grocery store, which I doubt, but, here's dreaming. Don't forget to smash that like button, my friends. Share the show with everyone you know, and even your grandma. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more is Naomi Seibt.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Oh, who are you? What do you do?
Yeah, so I'm the first German asylum seeker under President Trump because I have been under intelligence surveillance for the past years, since probably 2019 around. So when I was just 19 years old, I had no idea I was such a threat to the German government. They recognized this way earlier than me. And I found out just this year that they had actually been intercepting my communications, WhatsApp, Signal, Telegram, everything. I found out about this from an American ex-army intelligence guy who basically became my whistleblower. And he said that they actually contacted American intelligence to get access to all these secrets that I had, which was just private communications with my families. And it's ironic because they had so many chances to find something damning on me, but apparently they couldn't find anything because they still had to make up lies about me. They've been trying to defame me in the media. They've been trying to put me in jail for posts that I made on X. I am currently being investigated for a post that I made, yes. Now I'm applying for asylum to finally break free from this tyranny in Germany because I am in support of the currently democratically most popular party in Germany, the AfD party, which is essentially just a MAGA equivalent in Germany. And our government want to try to shut them down, even though they are the most popular party. So who's really the threat to democracy in Germany? And I'm very excited to be here because I've been a fan of this show since I started my own social media thing, very small in Germany in like 2019 or earlier. Yeah.
Well, it's great to have you. Can you do me a favor real quick? Can you just repeat these words? Tim, they're trying to kill you. Can you say that?
Tim, they're trying to kill you.
Oh, my God. Ladies and gentlemen, I have just been informed by a very credible source that the German government has actually acted upon a plot against my life. I am now informing the White House and the federal government that they're trying to kill me, and I may die. But
I'm going to send the German B&D after you.
This weekend, the show is going to be off the air. And as an update, I will be informing the FBI of this very credible plot against me. All of that is technically true, you know. So anyway, how are you doing, Raymond?
I am excellent, Tim. That opening today I'm so emotional. I'm so glad that your family and all of our futures are safe because they cut the J6 bomber. But I'm Raymond G. Stanley Jr. I'm the resident blue collar here, United States Marine Corps veteran. Miss Naomi, I look forward to talking with you here. Mr. Brett.
Yeah, it's crazy. My wife was also just asking me when they were going to catch the J6 bombers, so it's crazy that happened, guys.
As one's wife does.
It's once a week. She checks online for news updates, and when they don't get them, she comes to me and complains because she's scared. That's what happens, guys. Brett here. Pop Culture Crisis. Normally Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is noon Pacific. We will be back again live starting next week. You should join us. But Phil, how you doing?
Hello, everybody. My name is Phil Labonte. I'm the lead singer of the heavy metal band All That Remains. I'm an anti-communist and a counter-revolutionary. Let's get into it.
Here's the story from Mediaite revealed. The first pictures emerge of the DNC and RNC pipe bomb suspect. And wait, what? When I first saw this photo, I said, y'all trolling. I think it was Jessica and the other. No, who was it? I think it was Jessica. She pulled it up. And they were like, oh, yeah, the DC pipe bomber was a black dude. And I was like, oh, wow, I didn't see that one. You know, we all thought it was that white woman. And then when they posted the picture, I was like, very funny, guys. You're trolling. No, that's actually what the guy looks like. And his name is Brian Cole. He's apparently a 30-year-old. He was arrested. He's the suspect. I don't know what evidence they have just yet. According to the U.S. Attorney's Office, he's being charged with, quote, transporting an explosive device in interstate commerce with the intent to kill, injure, or intimidate any individual or unlawfully to damage or destroy any building, vehicle, or other real or personal property, and with attempted malicious destruction by means of fire and explosive materials. Wow. We have the press release here from the DOJ. They say Brian J. Cole Jr. of Woodbridge, Virginia, was arrested this morning and charged with for transporting and planting 2 improvised explosive devices on January 5th, 2021 at the headquarters of both the Republican National Committee and the Democratic National Committee in Washington, D.C. They say the well-being of society rests on our ability of law enforcement to safeguard our citizens, et cetera, et cetera. Well, here's what's interesting. This guy ran a bail bonds company to free illegal immigrants, sued the Trump DHS, and worked with a Black Lives Matter lawyer. Sounds like this was an anti-Trumper lefty who was angry at Donald Trump. I don't understand what the motivation is for planting these pipe bombs, however. But if you were anti-Trump and you were trying to, I don't know, frame him and his supporters, perhaps that's the motivation.
I mean, it's I don't know. We'll see how this actually pans out. They had the other woman they considered a person of interest. I haven't had a chance to dig into this to see what kind of evidence they have on this guy. So, I mean, look, if he's the guy, great. You know, I mean, it's nice to see the DOJ actually making arrests. So hopefully that it is him. But you know, I'm kind of a wait and see or I'm kind of at the wait and see.
Feels very on par with the U.S. government for something to take 4+ years to get anything done.
I mean, we talk about, people talk about how they feel like things aren't getting done. And I continuously say, look, the government's slow and the government's sloppy a lot of times. But the reason that they move at the pace that they move is because if they arrest someone and they don't have all their I's dotted and their T's crossed and they actually have the guy, they're going to end up having to let him go. And that's worse than taking a long time.
Yeah, I heard that when they went and arrested him at his house, he asked, "Did I do that?"
Hey.
Yeah, there's also a story that, and we'll talk about it in a bit, that they're not going to be re-indicting Letitia James. So this is all just, I don't know. It all seems like...
Who was the other lady that they said, the one that was a suspect before? Who was that lady?
I don't remember her name. It's
There was like
DC cop.
They were saying like the evidence was like that she's bent down to pick something up.
That was what I was saying.
What was it?
Yeah. So the evidence they had that the person was gait analysis.
Yeah.
What I said was I believe the pipe bomber was a woman because men tend not to bend down at the hips; they bend at the knee. It's because of women's center of gravity. They're more likely to bend down at the hip, what this person does. So look, I'm not the only one. I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to. I don't think the FBI is wrong, but I don't necessarily just trust the FBI, whoever's running it. But Cal Serafin said, sorry, none of this is legit. I have videos of this man playing with his puppies 5 years ago. He has a rock-solid alibi. Gait analysis is not real. This story is fake news. So what was published before is that it couldn't have been this woman because she has videos of her playing with puppies, which is like the stupidest thing I've ever heard because that's not evidence or an alibi of anything. Like I recorded a video of Phil juggling. That proves he wasn't here on this date. No, it doesn't.
Can't even juggle.
Well, you can't even prove a date based on a video. That makes no sense. What is she standing in front of a calendar? I just put a fake calendar in front of her, or
if they have
an old one.
Wait, you mean if they have the actual video from it, wouldn't the metadata say?
No, because metadata can be faked very easily, ridiculously easily. You just change the date on the device you're using. Like you get a camcorder and you set the date wrong, and then film it and be like, oh, look at that. The metadata on the digital file says the date.
So there's
that proves it.
So there's no way for the video to exonerate her.
Yeah, no way. I mean, not in today's day and age. To be like, I have a video of, if there's a video, I suppose it could be like surveillance video owned by someone else that's like logged in a security system. That's fine. But how the other question I have, like, wasn't this person out at like midnight, like 1 a.m.?
Yeah. So the idea is like she was playing with puppies in like a lobby somewhere.
Right. But maybe, I mean, to be honest, maybe that's just the way they reported it, and she's actually like in a lobby, and the hotel had security footage. I don't want to make it sound too stupid. Like that one guy who claimed he went to a parking lot, and this proves Turning Point was sending money to a parking lot because I didn't understand what an LLC file to a mailbox is.
At the UPS store.
Right. So I don't want to play conspiratorial games, although maybe our viewership would be a lot better if I just used vagaries and acted like everything was a conspiracy.
Everything is a conspiracy.
It's always. Everyone's out to get you all the time.
That's right.
Well, and the federal government has like an unbelievable track record with prosecutions, right? They almost never lose if they choose to prosecute.
98%.
It is true, but the argument is that it's because they only take cases they know they can win.
Yeah.
So that just means they let criminals go all the time.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. And it speaks to the fact that prosecutors aren't actually motivated by finding the person that committed a crime or, making sure that the streets are safe. They're basically political actors, and they want to make sure that they have the highest, conviction rate that they possibly can. So that way, when they come up for some kind of appointment or some kind of promotion, they can say, look at how great my record is. Doesn't speak to how well they're actually serving the community. It speaks to they're making sure that the people that they select to prosecute are actually, they have them dead to rights. So.
And it sets a basis for them down the road. It sets a precedent. So down the road, they're like, okay, every time we get someone, arrest someone, we're at 95%, 96%.
Yeah, I mean, like
they're the audience, the people in the world are like, okay, so they're definitely guilty because the feds are so good at what they do.
I mean, yeah, but like I said, I think it's more about politics and personal achievement. They want to be able to say, oh, hey, I'm this successful, and it's not actually representative of whether or not they're finding criminals, whether or not they're serving the community, whether or not they're making their community safer. It's about they are selective in the prosecutions.
It's kind of like the opposite end of the spectrum of saying like crime is down in the city, but it's because they choose not to prosecute anybody.
Yeah,
like they do in DC.
Or report it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
They've been doing that in a lot of cities, if I understand correctly. So
Yeah, I don't know. It's all relatively black pilling. I suppose this story it should be a white pill. I mean, they may have caught the pipe bomber. They've arrested this person. We're learning the motivations. This person appears to be anti-Trump or whatever. So I don't know. I don't have high hopes for the Trump administration and Republicans, and I'm not convinced they're going to get on message to actually win an election. It does feel like everything's just broken apart, and where that leads us, I honestly don't know.
Well, there's like no faith in institutions anymore. So when something like this happens, immediately half the population is conspiratorial and the other half just doesn't trust the government anyways. You don't have that finality anymore that used to exist when people had faith in the government.
it's true, but there's no benefit personally for coming out and saying, yeah, I really agree that they got the guy. I think this is it, and good for them, and blah, blah, blah. There's no social benefit for that. Like, if you're on social media and you say that, the first reply is going to be like, oh, yeah, you just believe everything the FBI says. Yeah. So the skepticism is that people kind of have nowadays. It's almost like a defense mechanism. So that way they're not getting criticized. Pardon me?
Nobody wants to be wrong.
Yeah.
Like, nobody wants to get caught being wrong, because the worst thing you can be now is to be seen as a fool because you believe something that ended up not being true, or you thought somebody was going to be guilty of something and they ended up not being guilty. So people just hedge their bets and don't.
And if you're skeptical, like, no one's going to go and look back 6 months to see if you said something and were wrong. I mean, look at the Ian Carroll stuff about RFK, right? Nobody's going back and talking about that. He said that there was a big scandal coming and had him dead to rights, and there were a bunch of people that were talking about it for a news cycle or two. Nothing materialized.
This is the reality of humanity, I suppose, is that people are typically socially driven. They want to fit in more than anything else. And so you do have this great period of contrarian values, I suppose. Maybe contrarian's not the right word, but the Trump movement, people basically saying, I'm not going to fall in line to this weird stuff you want me to do. And I don't think it's necessarily because people felt that Trump was right. It was that Democrats wanted them to do something that they didn't feel comfortable doing. So the Democrats tried to move the Overton window too quickly. When they did, it dropped a bunch of people off that platform. Those people are sitting there being like, I'm not going to call a man a woman. They would have, due to social pressure, if it was done more slowly, in my opinion. I think most people would. And the evidence for this is where we currently are with a Republican Party that is now pro-gay marriage, that there are trans and gay Republicans that do advocacy for the GOP. That shows tremendously the Overton window has shifted, and traditional Republican values are long gone.
Yeah.
And what we have now is just more of a populist movement that includes conservatives that are moderate and accepting of gay marriage and transgender individuals. Not completely, but a bit. Now imagine the Republican Party 20 years ago. There's no way. They weren't even for gay marriage.
Yeah.
And that was it. Oh, go ahead.
I was saying neither were for the Democrats. But for the white pill to this, Kash Patel did switch out the leadership on the FBI on this J6 pipe bombing team. He put in new guys because the old team wasn't doing anything good. So he's putting in these new guys on his team that he wants in there, and they finally, they found him.
So they've been working on this for 4 years.
Yeah.
They put in new people, and that's
Yes.
They cracked the case instantly.
Conspiratorial. That's scary.
I think the sad reality that anybody, if you're interested in truth and what's really going on, the problem is you're going to find that most people are not.
Yeah.
And this is, we're seeing this right now largely with the drama around Candace, of course, and Turning Point USA. We see it in the Democratic Party. People just want to be a part of the crowd. And they're going to, so if you say something that contradicts their worldview, and this is how it's always been, said it before, I'll say it again, that they're going to abandon you. They're going to say, okay, you're no longer in line with the world that I want to be. So it's not about what is true. Certainly, there are things that Joe Biden did that I was like, okay, that's fine. Like he wanted to get rid of credit card, ATM, or overdraft fees or whatever. But there are people that were just, no matter what Trump does, it's wrong. Yes. Now, what I will say is, this is a tendency on the right, and it's a rule on the left. And that's typically why you find a lot of moderates aligned with conservatives. Now, I would say, everything's completely shattered. And it's not just Candace, but she kind of just is the avatar of it. But there are this general MAGA rift between, as you mentioned, like Ian Carroll saying there's a bunch of things. There's nothing. People really want to exist in this conspiracy space for some reason. I suppose it gives them a sense of almost purpose. As woke fades away as the collective enemy, there isn't one, and there needs to be one. And so groups are trying to find who their enemy is, and they'll take whatever they can get. And then you end up with, I guess right now, a bunch of weird stories that don't add up or make sense. And my favorite example is this dude making a video where he's like, why is Turning Point giving $1.4 million to a parking lot? And everyone's like, bro, that's a UPS store. It's an LLC registered to a mailbox. But he's lying intentionally because it generates views, and these people, it's the conspiracy world they want to live in.
Well, it's a side effect of the creator economy, right? Is like the one thing that you have to have when you're in this space is you have to be moving towards something. You have to have a rallying cry. You have to have something that you're working towards so you can build an audience, because they want to feel like they're connecting with you, working towards something. It's like a joke on our channel where I'm like, I'm not here to sell you anything. Literally, I'm just trying to help you kill a couple hours of time today. But the thing is, like, that's actually counterintuitive to what works in these spaces, because most of the time it's you're fighting against a company, you're fighting against a government, you're fighting against an ideology and stuff like that. And for a lot of people, they're just creating, whether it's Ian Carroll or Candace Owens, they've got whoever that they're going against right now, and that's just what works in this space.
I generally think this is a positive thing, though. You just mentioned blackpilling. I actually think it's necessary because we need somebody to hold the Republican Party or any sort of movement on the right accountable, because otherwise we're just going to be this uniform movement. I mean, I'm not a Republican, I'm from Germany, but still, I mean, I observe what's going on in the right-wing movement, and I think it's crucial that we establish some form of individualism so we can keep these conversations going, these discussions going. And you're totally right that it's a problem that we constantly need to have some form of enemy, and it shouldn't be this way because it's a big distraction. And I think it's on purpose. It's kind of like a big psyop, whoever is starting this, whoever is behind this. But as long as we keep the conversation going, as long as we don't censor anyone, because I think that was the biggest threat pre-Trump. Everybody was censored who said anything that went against the establishment, against the mainstream narrative, which unfortunately was the most horrific things, like child abuse, literally child abuse. That was becoming a mainstream thing. And we're now going in the other direction. And now in the other direction, we're now realizing that we still have a lot of differences, because that's what defines us. We are individualists. And I think that's a positive thing in a way, because it just shows that we should never get comfortable with any government. My question to you would be, what do you think would be a positive direction? Do you see any hope for the next administration, and who should it be?
I would say there's a toss-up right now. I mean, J.D. Vance seems to be the guy, and he's been doing an amazing job in, look, Trump says he wants the prices of houses to stay stable. He says H-1Bs, he says all these things, and of course that pisses off Gen Z, who are freaking out. J.D. Vance comes out with better messaging saying, no, we got to get the prices of houses down. He pushes back on a lot of the establishment shills. He's willing to be aggressive, but he's got a bit more, I don't know, inline decorum than Trump does. So I'm fairly optimistic on J.D. Vance. The issue that I see largely right now is, now that there's no unified enemy, the right doesn't seem to be focused on what they're fighting for. So for a while, it really does feel like right now the issue was Trump comes out and says, I want to do great things. And a lot of people got behind him because the machine was against him. Now that the machine is largely routed, and the Bud Light failing a couple years ago and all the things afterwards, now people are kind of like, well, I don't know, people just, this is it, Nick Fuentes, is Tucker Carlson. My view of it is kind of, people were supporting Trump and the things behind Trump more so because the left was attacking Trump. Now that the left is largely destroyed, the right is splitting up and pointing in random directions. And instead of saying, hey, guys, we've got an immigration fight to complete, you have the principal faction that is still very much Trump can do no wrong, and the media attacking him as the deep state, things like this. But then you get this other faction that is anti-Trump. Nick Fuentes is not a big Trump guy. He wants to unite with the left. You have this growing group that is largely just anti-Israel. They found a new enemy. This is the enemy. It's the true enemy. And so I'm sitting here being like, are we actually focused on winning for any particular reason? It seems like the right is broken up into a bunch of different pieces, and there is no unified vision of what post-midterms or post-2028 should be looking like.
because there would be that's literally too many things to name, right? Is it immigration? Is it the price of groceries? Is it Israel? There's too many different things for people to consider the problem for everybody to unite around how to fix it. When it was the left, it was that. It was everything is encompassed under the left's rule. Now it's a bunch of issues that just largely affect all Americans, and they don't have a way of aiming that in a specific direction.
I think the best way to be successful is to focus on things like the economy and immigration. Those are two things that the economy, definitely everybody can get behind the idea of we need to have a booming economy. We need to have an economy that's successful because it's the only way we can manage the debt. I don't know that we can even fix the debt problem that we have, but we're certainly not going to be able to manage it unless we have a vibrant, growing economy. And you're talking about, like, to be realistic, it's going to have to be really, really booming, 3-4% to actually control the situation with the debt. And I think immigration is something that most Americans get behind as well. When Trump was running, it was a 75% agreed about immigration, something like that. It was super high, and now maybe it's lower because people see ICE on social media. They see people protesting, and so maybe they're getting a little squishy. But it's still a winner for the Republican Party. So if they focus on those two things, I think immigration and the economy are actual winners, and everything else I think is honestly a distraction. The fact that people are paying attention to all this stuff, I think, is because they don't see the results in the economy or in immigration. Even though immigration, the Department of Homeland Security would say that there's been 2 million people that have deported and self-deported since Donald Trump took office, which is cool. It's not enough, obviously, but it's cool. That still doesn't satisfy the people that are like, nothing ever gets fixed. So
let's jump to the story. We've got this from Harvard, actually. It's the Harvard Youth Poll. And this story is big because Gen Z is largely giving up. What they find is that Gen Z has defined their generation by financial, political, and interpersonal instability. It's a defining feature of daily life, shaping their outlook on the country and their own futures. And right now, 57% of Gen Z think the country is on the wrong track. This includes younger conservatives who are not pro-Trump. Not all of these guys are groypers, but certainly those that are not in favor of what Trump is doing. So what does this country look like with 80 million, well, it's about 78 million Gen Z who don't like Trump, they don't like Democrats? What does that become in 10 years when these people are going to be in their late 30s? They're going to be going into their 40s in 10 years. Right now, I think what oldest Gen Z is about 27, 28 years old. So this is... They are entering the peak of their lives where they should have families and homes. And what are they doing? Living with their parents?
Will you ever have a young generation that agrees with the government? I think it's a very natural evolvement of people in this kind of age group where they just have to be contrarians and they don't like what's going on in the government. I think as they grow naturally into more conservative values and starting to think about having a family and actually being more comfortable in life and asking for more security in your stable living conditions, that often makes them more united in a more conservative fashion. So I think it's this kind of rebellious phase in a way. I also understand why they do feel so insecure. I mean, the economy is terrible, and that has a huge impact, especially on the younger generations. And as soon as they feel that these issues, especially those who are tending more towards the left, they're asking for higher taxes because it doesn't impact them. They don't have to worry about it. So I think these issues, I think they will tend more towards the middle as they grow older. But at the same time, like I mentioned before, they will form their own movement, but it doesn't necessarily have to be completely opposite to what Trump is currently promoting or what we stood for during the time that we have been promoting the right for the past years. I think it's going to repeat itself or at least rhyme itself with what we were promoting. So I don't think it's something that we have to be scared of. I think it's more something where we have to guide the younger generation. I would like to be more of a voice for the younger generation rather than somebody who condemns them and demonizes them.
Right, but the problem is the Trump administration needs to win, or I shouldn't say the Trump, Republicans win elections in the United States through older voters. Younger voters, not only is the younger demographic smaller than the older demographic because people weren't having kids, but the older demographic is more likely to vote in general. So you've got two problems. If you go to the boomers, which is going to be the most active voting bloc for 2026, and say, we need to get the price of homes down, they're going to go, whoa, 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 that's where all my money is.
Yeah.
If my home goes down in value, I lose my retirement. If you go out and say, we're going to make the prices of homes go up, then the young people are like, well, I'm screwed. And I think that's the move they're making. Politicians in the United States are basically saying, always favor the old. Social Security can never be touched. Young people are saying, I'm being taxed into oblivion and I have no money and I don't get that. Don't let prices drop on houses because old people the boomers have three houses. Not all of them, but around 75% of boomers own homes and many of them own more than one. So it's always going to favor this, and they're going to live longer. So Gen Z, I think that's why we see this data. They're basically saying, you have built a system to extract from us, and we will never see that value again.
Yeah, it's the wages have stopped going up. There's a stagnation when it comes to the way that they can make money. And then they've taken out $200,000 in student loan debt, which then pushes them back into favor of the government. Even if you're pushing back against the government now, the government has found a way to reinstitute itself in your life no matter what. Even if you're successful, even if you get a job making a good amount of money, you're still in debt slavery. There's no way out.
Indeed. So when I see this and they say interpersonal instability, you've got social media apps that are destroying social interaction. You've got a financial crisis going back to COVID. I mean, technically even before that when they were little kids. Mm-hmm. And they can't own homes.
I don't think any of this is a condemnation of Gen Z. I don't. No. I think it's most people now, especially millennials, they look at what's happening to Gen Z and they're like, I can absolutely see, because we saw the beginning of that with the financial crisis in 2008. It's like people talk a lot about how people in these spaces condemn Gen Z. I don't think that's what it is. I think most people look at the nihilism that's coming from a lot of American Gen Zs and they say that makes perfect sense to me. But it feels in a lot of ways like they feel like it was orchestrated by the government post-2008 to actually create the situation that we're in now.
Yeah, I mean, look, the government is responsible for a significant portion of this, whether it be the incentivizing people that didn't have the funds or the credit rating to buy homes before the housing market crash, or the way that they've handled the economy since. They spent 10 years just printing money, doing quantitative easing, which is the main driver of income inequality that people feel. They feel like they don't have as much money, and they feel like the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer, and they generally are. Because when you print up money, rich people get access to that money first. They can borrow against either their home or what have you, and they can invest that money in the stock market, which is why the stock market has gone up so dramatically in the past 10 years. They borrowed money at a super low rate, put the money in the stock market, made themselves a bunch of money. And then if you have people that are poor or don't have anything, if they get their hands on money, the first thing they're doing is trying to pay bills, pay for their groceries. And where does that money go? It goes to the people that own the grocery stores. It goes to the people that own things. So this wealth transfer that we've seen in the past 10, 15 years, it's all because of government policy.
And COVID too.
Pardon me?
The wealth transfer over COVID too.
Yeah, but COVID was the same thing. It's like people got, if when the government just printed up money and they gave it to people that didn't have any kind of assets or whatever, they spent that money. And where did that money go? Again, it went to Jeff Bezos because they were buying things on Amazon. So if you get free money from the government, and even if Jeff Bezos doesn't get it, the billionaires get it anyways because they're the ones that own things, and you're going to buy the services and products that they're selling.
And not even just like people that own businesses. It was the billionaires because your mom and pop shops were shut down and you were only allowed to get stuff from Walmart or from Amazon.
Yeah.
A never-ending problem in politics is that it's just naturally not future-oriented because you're only going to be in office for so long, so it's not a delayed gratification type of industry at all. And I think that's going to upset a lot of young people who maybe some of them are not even voters yet, and maybe some of them are just starting to vote, but they are just in the minority out of all the voters. And that typically draws them more towards the left, I think, because they're going to get very frustrated if we don't interact with them. So I think something that would be very important for us, like as a community, as a society, would be to promote more future thinking. And I guess the most important person who has been doing this for the past years is Elon Musk, who thinks very far ahead, who thinks about us going to Mars in the very far future. I think that's a bit too far for politics. But generally just promoting more family values, and also for older people, or even just our generation, honestly, to think about the future generations, which are our children, and creating more of this community between younger generations and older generations again, because I think currently there's actually a big age war in politics.
Well, yeah, I see in the United States, when we point out that boomers, 75% own homes, and many of those people own multiple homes, they get angry. Not all boomers, but we'll get a lot of responses being like, don't blame us. I worked for it and I deserve it. I've heard from tons of boomers and they say, hey, I worked for my Social Security. I deserve it. And it's just like, yes, but in order to pay for it, like you paid someone else. And Gen Z is now working to pay you, and Gen Z's never going to see that money.
And those boomers that have multiple homes, they locked in an interest rate of 2-3%. And now if you want to go buy a home, it's going to be 6-7%. And that's a huge amount of money over the course of a 30-year loan. So the idea that people, the boomers are like, oh, don't be mad at me, blah, 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 blah. I mean, look, you're going to have people saying this is not fair. This is not fair that I can't afford a home, that I can't get that interest rate that you got. You got this super sweet deal because the government was doing everything they can to keep interest rates down and keep them low because they were pumping up the stock market. And again, you can't stress this enough. They did it for 10 years. You had super, super low interest rates. And then COVID came, and because of the inflation with COVID, they had to jack up the interest rates. And young people are totally screwed because of this.
And boomers need to relax on their nihilism. They need to start caring. We need to start caring because we have under 30% of under 30-year-olds. 8% of people are leaning Republican. They're not into the Republican Party. They don't care about it. So the old folks, boomers who have the money, you guys need to start thinking about, you're going to die. What are you going to do with your money? You're going to die. So you need to start caring about what the young kids and give them opportunities and just show them that you care. That we might get more folks who are going to come to Republican.
I'm not sure exactly how you do that, though. Yeah. What is it that boomers are supposed to do to indicate care? And first of all, what are they supposed to do to indicate that they care? Second of all, right, what is it that they could materially do to help young people? I mean, it's if they've got a mortgage at a low rate and they're trying to rent it out, but young people don't have the money to rent it out. They still have a mortgage that they have to cover. They can't go ahead and be like, well, I'll lose money on my, or at least they're not going to say, I'll lose money on my rental property, so that way you have a place to live.
Even the system that they were born into doesn't really exist anymore because they went to college for much cheaper, but that's not their fault that they went to college for much cheaper. And now, because the government got involved in student loans, the price of going to college has been jacked up exponentially, and there's no way for the newer generations to actually feasibly have a good life, because if there are a lot of these companies now, they've been sold off to major corporations which put ridiculous rules in place for how people are hired, and people just get they get basically removed from the job market entirely, whether it's through H-1B visas or the fact that you need to have 5 years experience for an entry-level job and stuff like that. It's literally designed to fail, but that isn't necessarily the fault of the generation that came before them, other than the ones who sold their companies to larger companies, which then put these rules into place. You don't see a lot of things in the way of, paid internships or mentoring programs in the same way that they used to. It doesn't work that way anymore. And then millennials or Gen Z get angry when a boomer says to you, you know what, go up to him and shake his hand and look him in the eye and hand him your resume and make sure it's printed out on good card stock and stuff like that. It's not really their fault that advice doesn't work anymore, but it just further kind of reinforces the divide between all the generations.
And it's a double-edged sword nowadays for young people, because young people are doing more staying at home. They don't interact with people. They don't have social skills the way that that people did generally 20, 30, 40 years ago. And one of the most effective ways to find a job is knowing people, networking with people. Yeah. So if you're not very charismatic, you can't hold a conversation with someone, you don't know where to go to meet people, you don't have particularly good interpersonal skills, and you have to have your mom come with you to your interview, right? And you're not going to get the job. You're just not. And if you don't know a lot of people, opportunities are going to slip by. And so one of the best advice you can give to young people is to break out of that kind of the cycle of staying home, not going out, not meeting people. And as distasteful as it might seem, go to job fairs And even if they're not jobs that you're particularly interested in, the more you're out among people and talk to people, the better your chances of finding some kind of job. And people are going to go ahead and poo-poo that idea. But I tell you what, it's a way better idea than sitting at home on social media and scrolling through TikTok, because you're not going to find any work on your couch.
It's an even better idea than going to college. And I mean that genuinely. I do not encourage anyone in there, like, who just graduated from high school to go to college now. And I say that as someone, I graduated with the highest degree that the highest grade that you can get in high school in Germany. And in Germany, it's even more standardized that you kind of have to go to university. Otherwise, you're kind of a failed person and you don't make it at all in Germany. And everybody told me you have to go to university because otherwise you're wasting your great grades. And I hated it. I didn't want to go to college. I didn't want to go to university. This was my dream in middle school. And then after high school, I realized this is just the same, honestly, horrible system. It's just it failed so many young people. And now people are getting out of college who just went in the past years. And now they're realizing, oh, AI is taking over. So my degree is useless now. So what am I going to do now? So you need to be in tune with what's currently happening in the entire job world. And you cannot live in the real world while you're going to college or university. And it's a big problem. I think you need to be updated in everything that's going on social media, in the media, and understand what actually matters to the world. Because the whole idea of becoming an entrepreneur is you need to understand what are the real problems of people, so you can solve them. You need to make yourself useful. By going to college, you're just seeking good grades in something that nobody cares about. Nobody cares about your grades. You have to be useful to society.
Yep. Yeah, that's a great point. The idea that you're owed a job, or that just because of your existing, in the United States, you should be able to find a job. You need to be useful. That's a great point.
This is the challenge for Gen Z, and every generation, except for, I think, Gen X, had some great challenge. Although, to be fair, I think Gen X had, with the financial crisis hitting them right at like the peaks of their careers, many losing a lot of what they worked for. You can see the charts on corporate equities and home ownership when the 2008 crash happened. Gen X got eviscerated. Yes. And but that being said, I was talking about this earlier with this great clip from Fight Club where Brad Pitt's character says that there's, Tyler Durden, we have no great war, we have no great struggle or whatever. Every generation has some kind of struggle, and Gen Z has this one right now. The question is, are they going to rise to the challenge, and how will they do it? Are they going to go leftist and say, just tax everybody and burn it down, I'll extract what I can from these people? Or are they going to be I'm going to go out and find my own way within the system?
I don't think that's what it is. I don't think that the educational system that they've been raised on teaches people to actually create jobs for themselves. It mostly teaches you to be a worker for somebody else. Not everybody has the desire to be an entrepreneur, to go out and create the economy for themselves. Now, that's possible that eventually, if it comes to that and there's no other options, kind of feet held to the fire, maybe that ends up being what happens to you. But most people aren't entrepreneurs. They're people that work best going into a job, and most people seek out the security of having a job rather than creating money for themselves.
It reminds me of something that Asmongold says a lot. There are some people that are born to take big rocks and make them into smaller rocks. And that's about all they can do.
I was at this local politician party a long time ago, and there was some wealthy dude there who said, some people, someone has to work at McDonald's, and that's how a lot of these people view the world. The issue is, right now, McDonald's doesn't pay enough so that you can live a life. And it used to be that working at McDonald's was something a 16-year-old did, and then it was a summer job where you got paid a little bit, saved up money, but lived with your parents. And then when you got older and got out of high school, you got a trade or a better job. But I think the system that we've built over the last 100 years is a lie. It used to be that you learned from your parents, and then we industrialized this system, and then we tried to institutionalize this system with college. But some people are just meant to turn big rocks into small rocks. They're never going to learn how to run computer systems or run businesses. And how do you then navigate this system? I honestly don't know.
Well, it's like when you hear entrepreneurs talk about the business, they talk about it's an obsession of theirs, right? They think about it every minute of every day. It's the most important thing in the world to them. And it oftentimes will end up being to the detriment of other avenues of their life. And most people just don't have that in them to live that way. I know that's not the way that I see the world, right? Like, it would be very hard for me to live that way. So I can't condemn people because they're not built in a way that's designed to to live your life like that, when most people aren't. But we are slowly moving towards a world where that's what's going to happen. Now, you could say that the creator economy on social media has actually created mini entrepreneurs out of people in Gen Z and Gen Alpha, the ones who go out and they work for themselves by making social media content. That is a form of industriousness that's probably more natural to them than it is to prior generations.
Yeah, I mean, but not everybody can make content that's, I mean, then
that's my point.
This is this is the it goes for every job, right? Not everyone can do every job out there. It's like, it goes back to the thing that we talk about, where people are not just cogs that you can replace one person and have them do the same exact job as someone else. But it is worth saying that, the people that find some kind of niche that they're good at, people that go out and try a bunch of different things, those are the people that are most likely to be successful, at least to some degree.
Well, you've actually said that here when we talk about hiring for these types of shows, right? You said most of the people, it's very hard to hire people to do on-camera stuff because most people, if they can do it, they're going to do it on their own because they're built that way.
Well, right now, I just think Gen Z is a generation that has been raised in with the least education, I think is the way I'd put it. So I think this is not a condemnation of any individual, but I think the people who raised Gen Z, which is largely Gen X, did not instill within their children an understanding of the world, how to make money, how to operate, and worse than the previous generations before. Millennials are really, really bad. Gen Z isn't necessarily as bad. They may be very similar to millennials, but millennials are really bad too. Constantly complaining, voting for communists. And every generation before is to blame. It's funny when people say they want to repeal the 19th Amendment, and I'm like, blame the politicians back then who allowed it. I mean, every generation has committed some kind of political act that resulted in where we are today. And I think this is a natural ebb and flow. Hard times make strong men. Strong men make good times make weak men make hard times. Strauss out generational theories. Saddle up, boys, because it's about to get a whole lot worse. There are way too many young people who don't know what to do. Not that it's their fault. Society was supposed to help them understand. And instead of teaching the next generation how to take over, they're flooding the country with immigrants, making it impossible. So the whole thing is just going to go tits up.
Yeah, I mean...
Well, let's jump to this next story from the Post-Millennial. Tim Waltz says people are driving by his house and calling him retarded. Quote, I've never seen this before. People driving by my house and using the R word in front of people. Oh, the R word.
True. This creates danger. And I'll tell you what, in my time on this, I'd never seen this before. People driving by my house and using the R word in front of people. This is shameful. And I have yet to see an elected official, a Republican elected official, say, you're right, that's shameful.
It's not shameful. It's actually funny.
Should not say it. So look, I'm worried. We know how these things go. They start with taunts, they turn to violence. So deeply concerned.
Well, he was called retarded because of things like this. And look, for a while we had principally two factions: liberal, conservative, Democrat, Republican, whatever you want to call it. Now it's been splintering even more. With the left, you have the establishment Democrats and the socialist left, and on the right now, there's the MAGA rift, they're calling it. Tucker, interviewing Fuentes, and then everyone's getting all bent out of shape. I don't know if this is going to be kind of let's call it the period at which the caterpillar turns into a pile of sludge within the cocoon, and then something new comes out. Right? Is this going to be that all the factions start fighting and then new factions form in the next couple of years? Or is this the total granularization of politics in this country and everyone will just hate each other?
If it goes that granular, how do you even run a national campaign?
I mean, we're at the point now where I question how you run a national campaign.
Yeah.
How is J.D. Vance going to win over the Tucker Carlson Fuentes faction? Not that they're identical, but let's just say Israel critical, and then you have the Christian Zionist faction. J.D. Vance has got to get both of them. Anna Kasparian is talking about how she watches Candace Owens. So maybe a Republican comes out and says, we're going to, you've got a Republican primary where you've got candidates who are, I'm going to go to Israel. And the other says, no way, we're not going to do that. And then maybe Democrats start voting Republican because people like Anna Kasparian have left the left already.
Their message needs to be America. I feel like it's the only thing that keeps us together. A lot of lefties hate America and Democrats hate America, but for majority of people, if you are anti-Israel, pro-Israel, end of the day, you're America first, MAGA. So if they're pronouncing the message of America and our borders, economy, that's the only message I can think of.
I don't think so.
No?
No, I mean, the people who hate Israel, it's the only thing they care about. They're not talking about the border. They're talking about Israel and the spies who killed Charlie Kirk and things like that. To be fair, it's not necessarily correct, because even Nick Fuentes is opposed to that. But this is how granularized how it is, where even the Israel side is now split.
But will that have? We're talking about elections, though, right? So if J.D. Vance, if he's doing the American message, how they're going to have to vote Republican?
I completely disagree.
You think they just stay home?
I honestly don't know. This is. I don't necessarily want to say unprecedented, but again, like right now, you've got all these media outlets that are talking about this rift on the right. Yeah. The left is flattened. Right? I don't even, who's even in charge at this point? When you look at their polling for the Democrats, it's like their best polling person's AOC at like 12%.
Mm-hmm. Telling you,
so I don't know.
In there.
I mean, Fetterman polls well amongst people who like Fetterman, and AOC polls well among people who like AOC. But now that the left is largely routed, now that we're at the point where disaffected liberals, not people like me, of course, because I have a show, but I've talked to a lot of people recently who said, yeah, I used to be somewhat of a liberal, but now I vote Republicans have gone crazy. These people can speak freely. They no longer fear cancellation or losing their jobs. That means this woke beast has been largely defeated. Maybe it still exists, but largely defeated. Now people are looking for what they're for and against again. And the right is now pointing the fingers at each other and breaking apart, much like the left already did. So what does an election look like moving forward? Maybe it's I'm not even playing. We will come to a point where there will be a Republican candidate in the primary. Look at this, Cenk Uygur defending Marjorie Taylor Greene. I would not be surprised if in 2027 there's a Republican primary candidate who is an American working class pro-populist guy who says that we do not want to be involved in these foreign wars. We should be working for the working class, good paying jobs, and then you get the Young Turks being like, we're voting Republican. But then at the same time, the Republican primary is also going to have, the pro-Israel neocon who says we need to have a military presence in the Middle East, and your traditional Republicans are voting for that. Yeah. And then this is one of the theories people have been throwing around online. The left gets flattened, Democrats are dead. The Republican Party splits into two parties and becomes Democrat, Republican, or the equivalent of.
I think the worst phenomenon that's happening right now is this scapegoating. Just like we mentioned, we got to have an enemy at all times. And as soon as we eradicate this enemy thinking and we think in terms of we can have a discussion with each other, I think that would be positive for all of us. So maybe there will be a day when even somebody like J.D. Vance has a conversation with Nick Fuentes, and maybe they will completely disagree, but at least we get an actual picture of what they agree and what they disagree on. So then for voters, it's going to be easier to identify, oh, this is actually what I like to align myself with more. Because otherwise you're going to have people who just watch Nick Fuentes' show or just listen to the other side. And then they never actually get to see the real people behind it because they constantly just watch small clips that the other side pulled somewhere from the internet from them.
Or AI. I mean, maybe actually where we're going is back in time. Remember when Hillary Clinton was at that rally in 2015 or whatever, and she used a Southern accent?
Yes.
The video went viral because they were like, who's she fooling?
She's code switching.
She's fooling everyone there who doesn't go online, doesn't watch these clips. With AI, people are going to largely distrust a lot of these videos, and then you can never believe anything. Then if you're a politician, you'll go back to the old days where you show up in person and you talk like this, say, listen, you vote for me and I'm going to be there for you. And then you go to New York and say, listen, you talk to me and I got what you need. And then when the video pops up online of you talking with a fake accent, you'll be like, that's fake AI.
No, you region specific the clip so you have an AI voice and different accents for wherever the video is being played in.
And that's possible.
Yeah, I mean, Democrats do that now.
You can do that on YouTube.
Talking about how did you say
Granularization.
I was talking today, I did this clip on Gavin Newsom, who's gathering a bunch of support right now from Hollywood donors, potentially going towards a run in 2028. And it was very funny because at that same time, they're saying, look, we like the way he's pushing back on Trump. He's got to fight back on Trump, which doesn't make any sense because Trump's not going to be running in 2028, but be that what it is. Then Halle Berry comes out and says, no, he can't be president because he's not strong enough on women in menopause.
Wait, what?
I'm not even she's like, he's good on abortion, he's good on families, but he's not good enough on menopause. So this one specific issue is so important to her that she's going to tell however many millions of followers she has on social media that you shouldn't vote for this guy because he doesn't support middle-aged women to the extent that I would like.
Halle Berry said that?
Halle Berry, yep.
Good grief.
Wow.
Yep.
Good grief. I feel like that's so ridiculous. That the fact that people know that she said it is a bad thing. Like no one should pay attention.
She said it right before he went out on stage. They were at the same event.
Good grief.
Oh, so you hate women in menopause?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, I hate all women generally.
Oh, I understand.
Specifically.
But especially the ones with
Equality
Yeah,
for the
equality,
women.
That's right.
Yes, we're allowed to. I hate everyone equally.
That's right. So,
I love that.
The world was better back when you assumed that when somebody was being a jerk, that they were just a jerk and being mean just because the person was a dick, not because they hated a specific group.
The world was better in a lot of ways back when there was one channel to watch. Mm-hmm. And everyone agreed. But the problem with that thinking is, while it's technically true that we all agree with each other, they were lying to us the whole time about everything.
Yeah.
And so what it really was that ignorance was bliss. And as long as the broadcast narrator of the state told you what was true, you agreed with it. Now we're in a world where anybody can say whatever they want on any platform and everyone's fighting.
I mean, it's why the shows that were popular at that time, because you didn't have that many choices. So certain shows became, appointment television.
And with, AI content creation and just the amount of content emerging across social media, it's becoming impossible for anybody to have a unified worldview.
Yeah.
I think
Let me tell you, it's not better to just have one channel or just a few channels. Coming from somebody who's from Germany, we pay taxes for the state media, meaning we have actual communist media. And if you watch that, everybody tunes in at 8 p.m. to watch the news in Germany, and it looks communist. It's not entertaining. If you watch Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, even MSNBC, even though it's bad, but it is somewhat entertaining. At least they put on a show. At least they're trying to be intriguing towards the people who are watching. But in Germany, we just watch the news. The news. There's one channel, essentially. You tune in every night at 8 p.m. They have the highest ratings because that's what we pay taxes for. We have to pay taxes for it. Even if you don't have a TV, even if you don't have a radio, you have to pay taxes for it. If you have multiple radios, you have to pay twice or more times than twice. Jeez. So it's pretty intense. And the majority of Germans are actually against it. They do not want to pay these taxes. But the thing is that the government and the parties that are in favor of these media taxes, they will be covered favorably by the media. So it's good for them to promote the state media.
Yep.
And that's why it's such a communist system. That's why it's increasingly harder for alternative media to get any recognition. This is why now people who are more alternative and support the opposition, they are going on social media. They're going on X. Twitter was super unpopular before Elon Musk. But since he's been promoting the AfD, now X is becoming very popular in Germany too. So I just want to make the case here for more media diversity. I know it's extremely difficult to even find what's the truth anymore. But I think the most important thing, the best thing that you can do is to go back to your internal values. Just understand what you stand for, what your family stands for. Find a community, find real friends. Maybe read a book every now and then. And then you need to go back to what your intuition tells you. And do your research. Is very easy to say. It's hard to do. But if you get yourself some form of good education, that doesn't mean to go to college necessarily. It means understanding the real world and being very observant of the real world. Then I think you have a good chance at life.
Well, let's jump to this next story. Ladies and gentlemen, the mega rift. Now, you've got Nick Fuentes calling out Candace Owens. The story is that Turning Point USA issued a rebuttal to everything Candace says, likely this was triggered by Candace calling on people to ask for refunds of their donations to Turning Point USA, which is probably apocalyptic for Turning Point USA and can very much destroy Turning Point. They apparently offered for her to come on the show. She agreed. And then when they said, okay, here's where we're doing it, she responded with, kind of weird how you didn't email or call me to ask about times or availability, and chose instead to tweet this confirmation out at midnight. Nick Fuentes responds, you were invited to Turning Point USA HQ to press their leadership live and in person about their role in Charlie Kirk's murder, but you can't go because of a scheduling conflict. LOL. Isn't this what you've been pushing for since September? Time to put up or shut up. Candace says, you spent over a year attacking me on your show. I finally said, okay, come on my show. You responded and said Wednesday worked better for your schedule. Stop being a fraud. If I'd instead publicly tweeted Nick refused to debate, I would have been disingenuous. Nick said, you said TPUSA could pick the time and place they did. You've been milking your investigation for 3 months. Now is your opportunity to blow the lid on everything, and you're going to no-show. What could possibly be the excuse? You owe it to your fans. The excuse is she was always lying, right? One of the things that Turning Point brought up was that early on in her investigation, she made a point about men in maroon shirts and then dropped that and moved on and never brought it back up. Or Egyptian planes flying around, which is never proven. She then made claims that these planes were landing at airports where federal vehicles were driving to a law office, and she vetted the person but never proved anything about what these planes were actually doing. Then it turns out her own lawyers are working in the same building as the feds. But people love the drama, the true crime, and the mystery. You know what she's really done? She has turned news podcasting into Lost. Always end your show on a cliffhanger, never resolve it, and keep people hooked. It is the mystery box of podcasts. And now that she's given the opportunity to go and put the nail in the coffin, she can't do it.
So she's J.J. Abrams?
I guess. What did he do?
Created Lost.
No, but I mean, did he actually write it and plan it out or what?
He's famous for the mystery box.
Yeah. So why not now finally go and confront them about all of these things?
Well, she's got an hour-long show to record for her fans to have them guess. I'm just kidding. You know, there's no freaking way.
Mystery Box Podcast.
Yeah, she spent months going after this story, and she can't take a couple hours of her day to miss one tiny show to go and actually confront these people in person like she wants to do, like she says she's going to do.
I'm sure that they'd allow her to co-stream it, stream to her people as well as theirs. And look, she's made enough allusions to accusations that this should be the opportunity for her to, go and clear all this up and, find the bad guys or point to the bad guys. I think that this kind of speaks to the fact that it is kind of just a bunch of isn't this strange? Isn't this odd? She does a lot of pointing and saying, look, but there's no substance there. And I think if there was substance, she would be, jumping at this opportunity.
Indeed. And that was kind of the point that Turning Point made when they were like, she keeps abandoning key points of this investigation and then never coming back to it. It's been 3 months. Even now, Nick Fuentes pointing it out. What's happening on the right seems to be maybe Candace is intentionally playing the heel to unite everyone against her. It's like the weirdest thing now because
selfless, right? Selfless.
I have check this out. Since she started doing this arc, our PR people have been getting inundated by mainstream media reporters. They've been texting me like crazy. They're asking us to give our. It's the weirdest thing ever that all of a sudden the corporate press is like, we're interested in this rift. We want more press on it. And I'm like, is the point to just get all of the regular conservatives to find their villain?
So she's not J.J. Abrams. She's Vince McMahon during the Stone Cold Steve Austin era of WWE.
I have no idea what that means.
I do. You're right. It is.
Okay, that's awesome.
Tim, you should make a poll for the chat. Nick Fuentes or Candace Owens.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Nick Fuentes or Candace Owens.
So we did a poll, and I said Brian Cole is the bomber or no way, it's a cover-up. And cover-up won with 53% to 47% that Cole is the bomber.
It's pretty even.
It's pretty split. Let's do a new poll. Let's get it.
Nick Fuentes. Whose side are you on, chat?
Nick Fuentes
We know.
or Candace Owens. I mean, it's interesting because I honestly have no idea how this one's going to play out.
I don't know. They generally like both of them.
Yes.
The chat seems to be very pro.
You know, this is the issue I take with this stupid debate about like Tucker and Nick and these TradCon people who are like, I don't want to work with Nick. He's moderated on so many issues.
Yeah.
And he's even admitted this. Now he's doing more press shows. He's acknowledged that being abrasive and trolly and that has been bad for him. And now he's, I guess, getting older and realizing
It happens.
that, you know, how to effectively grow and expand his opportunity. Nick Fuentes is 80%. Wow.
Crushing.
Well,
Wow.
Nick called her out pretty good here. I seen him on Steven Crowder today, and it was a pretty.
Was he also calling her out?
They didn't really. They got into it themselves. It was a little call out, but it wasn't a big call out.
We're still waiting for Nick to come on this show.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get him on.
Well, I mean, he was scheduled and then he canceled on
Are
us.
we doing culture war with Nick? Or
No,
a show?
IRL.
Okay,
Yeah.
that'd be fun.
Yeah. He didn't want to come on.
Come on, Nick.
He said he had a scheduling thing happen. I said, okay, you know, do your thing, I guess.
How much time did you have to spend watching the Candace shows to like? Because the thing
yeah.
is like with all of this type of drama, like once you can miss one day and you're completely lost about anything that's going on because there's so much lore behind all of this stuff. Like I immediately disengage because I don't want to go back through and listen to 8,000 threads of people arguing about this stuff. I just don't care. Like I just don't.
You know, there's always going to be a challenge if you're trying to be honest in media. You're never going to succeed. Like I shouldn't say that. You're going to have a hard go of it. I think there's a reason why Steven Crowder has maintained such strong viewership while many others have faltered, and I think it's because he generally does his thing, believes in himself, focuses on his message and mission, stays true.
Yep.
But there are a lot of people who are substantially more successful or who, you know, come and go. Like Candace being a really great example of a meteoric rise through, I don't know, like unscrupulous manipulation. If you are going to, it's a hard thing to do. Politicians, you're never going to get elected if you're actually telling people the truth. It's just not going to happen. Imagine a politician running for Congress being like, guys, Social Security will be insolvent by 2034, and we don't have the population size to actually pay into it to keep it at current levels. That means that only what goes into it will come out, so we expect a drop of around 30%. This means your checks will diminish. However, there are a couple solutions. Because the younger generation isn't large enough to pay the taxes on this, we could increase taxes on Gen Z, and that'll make it so that we can increase the payouts. Or we can bring in as many migrants as possible in whatever way we can so that we can bring in more working individuals into the tax base. And then everyone gets mad. They want you to come and just say, I will fix Social Security.
I'm going to fight for it.
I'm going to fight for you and your Social Security and your Medicaid. And they go, okay, that's all that mattered to me. And what does that even mean to fight for it?
Yeah.
Doesn't mean anything.
Doesn't mean
at all.
anything.
Nothing.
It's hope and change. It's
Yeah.
the same exact thing.
So what I love about like Candace's show is you know, the easiest example is that guy Wolves in Finance, where he was like, why are they giving money to a parking lot? And it's like, man, if your reading comprehension is third grade, you fall for this stuff.
Again, like I looked through one thread last night about the Candace stuff, and it was somebody saying like, I think they want to get her in the studio so they can scope out her security. Like, there was I was like, bro, I have to go. I just signed off my phone. I'm like, I don't have it in me to read this stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if there are turning point assassins, but if that is a thing, then God help us all.
Well, she did it to us. And you know, I'm not surprised here. I take that back. I'm actually surprised she even responded twice now. Even had me on her show. Look at that. But, you know, if your show is about drama and you need some drama, then, you know, she'll take what she can get. But when we were talking about her making $10 million per year on this show, someone took that clip, cut out the part where I explicitly stated she has a large audience because, you know, it's appealing to a wider base and that she has a lot of female viewers. They cut that out. Lied and claimed we said that she was botting her audience and it was all fake. She then reposts it, and this is the game. This is, you know, so the challenge that I think we have in whatever space we occupy is scruples. I'm not going to lie about Candace for the sake of getting views, but there's a tremendous opportunity right now. Because Candace wants to play this conspiracy dark world game, we could absolutely play back because she's brought us into her world. She had me, I ranted against her, and then I had the media blowing my phone up trying to talk to me about it. And I called her a scumbag. She had me on her show today.
Oh, yeah?
Showing the clip, which gives us a tremendous opportunity that if we played the same game as her, I could leak text messages, the things I've heard about Candace Owens. But my view of her is largely that she's unscrupulous and willing to manipulate intentionally for money. Based on the messages I've seen from her, I could accuse her of killing Charlie Kirk. I'm not even exaggerating. The messages that I've seen of Candace could easily be misconstrued to say that she had the biggest reason to murder Charlie because he ousted her from Turning Point. And she wants revenge, but she didn't know how to go up against Charlie. But I don't actually believe that. I don't think that's the case at all. I think she obviously was mad over a lot of things. I think she loved Charlie. I think she was in love with him. And now she wants to burn down Turning Point because she's, what do they call it? Second wife syndrome? She's the jilted lover who is friend-zoned, who is Charlie Kirk's wingman, who had that romantic text exchange with him that she was showing off. And now she wants to burn everything down in revenge. That's what I really think. There have been people who have made the joke that you could easily take statements she's made and insinuate she had Charlie murdered, and statements from people at Turning Point about how they feared Candace and what she was going to do. So let me put it like this. After Candace was ousted from Turning Point, she was no longer a speaker at, I think it was the end of 23. I'm not entirely sure. She remained friends with Charlie, but stopped doing events with Turning Point. And some people have argued it's because of her stance on Israel. I don't know if that's the case. But there are people at Turning Point expressing fear over what Candace would do to them if they actually ever got into a drama bit with her over her being ousted. And so they needed to keep her close, but not too far. Some of these emails and these statements, you could easily be like, this proves Candace was trying to kill Charlie the whole time, because it's all vague murder mystery garbage. The question is, who's really going to believe it? I don't know. But that's exactly what she does. One example is like the Mikey McCoy thing. He got on his phone right after Charlie was shot. That proves it. And it's like, it literally means nothing. We have no idea what it means. She's insinuated that they denied Charlie first aid, that it was an inside job, all of this crazy nonsense, because it is lost. It's like, what big show do we have? You know what she's really good at? She basically figured out how to make that Game of Thrones herself. Very, very, very well done. And if you are unscrupulous and your biggest concern is how many live viewers you have, then you will be Candace Owens and you will brag about it. Good for her, I guess. I think she's evil. I think she's scummy, but that's why I look at the success she has, why I called it demoralizing, 2 or 3 weeks ago, because we are trying to build a coalition to save this country. She's trying to build a coalition so she can make money and sell ads. And she's effectively destroying the political coalition that wants to see a victory, to stave off this crazy immigration crisis, to help Gen Z and the working class buy homes and bring prices down. Her thing is just vagary after vagary, distraction, and burn down the one organization that actually unified various political factions to help Donald Trump win the election. Maybe she's been with the Democrats the whole time, and that's why her lawyers work with the feds.
Well, I mean, she was a Democrat before, so.
I'm starting to think that she has lost all sensitivity to what is ethical at this point to promote on her show, because all the conspiracy theories that she's pulling out, maybe there's some validity, a fraction of validity to something that she has said at some point. But now she's drowning everything in so many allegations, accusations that just do not make any sense whatsoever. So there's nothing that is believable anymore. And I don't even know if she understands the kind of impact that she's having. And I think maybe you think that she's fully aware of it and that she knows exactly what she's doing. That
she's very smart.
Generally, okay. I do think that she's very smart for sure. Otherwise, she wouldn't have this great show. Great in the sense that she has a lot of viewers, obviously. But at the same time, I think she has become completely insensitive to how people are perceiving her. I think she just thinks that she's this. Yeah, she is the ideal, the queen behind what she's promoting, and she doesn't quite take in what kind of impact it has on her viewers, but also what kind of impact it has on Charlie and the family and the legacy that he left behind, because I don't think that Charlie would have wanted any of this.
That's part of why.
Oh, I mean, I'm I completely agree. I think the idea that Charlie would want her to advocate everyone pull their donations from the organization he built.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
No one hates Charlie more than Candace Owens. Let me say that very, very clearly. I want to say it straight to the camera for all of her biggest fans, and then she can grab this clip and put it on her show. I do think it's absolutely hilarious that we're a substantially smaller show than hers, but she brought us up anyway. So thanks for saying my name, Candace. No one hated Charlie Kirk more than Candace Owens. She reviles him, she spits on his grave, and she smiles while doing it. Okay, quote over. And I'll say this because Charlie spent his life building out these organizations. Candace is doing everything in her power to tear them down. She hates Charlie. She hates what Charlie built, and she wants it to burn. She hates Charlie's family. She hates Charlie's friends. She's accused them of killing him. She's accused his wife of having knowledge of these events. And then she comes out and says, I never said that. Not in the literal sense, but there's literally no other logical conclusion to what you're saying. So when I look at Colvett and Bowyer and Blake and Erica and the people who work at Turning Point, and I say, you know, maybe they're not handling things properly and they don't know what to do what Charlie was doing. There's fears that Turning Point can't make it without Charlie. All of that is them trying to make Turning Point survive. Candace is advocating you abandon Turning Point USA. It's kind of remarkable to see, but let's just do the logic here. Simple question for all of you. Throw it in the chat. Who do you think cares more about Turning Point? The people trying to salvage and save it, or the woman telling everybody to pull their donations? Then you can ask yourself this. If Charlie were alive today, what do you think he'd be saying about all of this? Do you think he would say, I don't trust my wife and my best friends to run my organization? Or do you think he'd be saying, Candace should burn down Turning Point USA? I think the reality is a lot of people who follow Candace, they're masquerading much like the woke do. They don't really care about Turning Point. They want to watch it all burn down. They want to see Turning Point go belly up because they're nihilists. I'm not saying literally everybody who watches her, but in what reality does it make sense that Charlie would want Candace to burn Turning Point to the ground? It makes no sense.
Not at all.
And in what reality does this help us win a political victory moving into a midterm year? It doesn't. So I tell you this, my friends. I'll put it like this. I got asked about why we weren't invited to Turning Point USA. And they've since invited us back, whatever, but I said I'm not going. We've got prior commitments. I was asked by basically every mainstream news organization, oh, what's going on, the MAGA rift? They all want to know. Intention doesn't matter. Emotion doesn't matter. Only the outcome matters. And if Turning Point USA does not want Timcast IRL, disaffected urban liberals, on its stage prime time on Friday, and instead wants to book 4 conservatives wearing suits to talk about conservative values, it is their prerogative, but the outcome is the only thing that matters. They can hate me, they can love me, don't care. The question is, if this is the direction of Turning Point, what do they look like a year from now? Will it be a big tent organization that brings in liberals, moderates, conservatives, libertarians to form a coalition? Or will it be conservatives having an event to talk amongst each other? I say the same thing of Candace Owens. I don't care about what her intent is, her emotional state. I care about the outcome. If Candace Owens' actions and requests are to pull the donations from Turning Point and malign the people involved with it so that no one wants to be involved, the question then becomes, what will Turning Point be a year from now? And if Candace's actions say anything, and she succeeds, Turning Point will have been destroyed. Charlie's legacy gone. Everything he built erased and but a memory. That is what Candace is working towards because she hates Charlie Kirk. You know what I think it is? When I learned an important moral lesson when I was very young. My dad told me that some people like being upset. And I was confused by that as a young child. How can you enjoy being upset? It's the antithesis. It's not. Some people want to be angry. They want to cry. They want to be the victim. That's the world they want to live in. So while I can say Candace Owens was in love with Charlie Kirk. And this is based on me watching her show, the romance drama, the thing she mentioned about choosing his clothes and all the stuff and how she loved him and all of that stuff. She literally says it. I mean, she doesn't say she was in love, right? But you look at that, and then you look at her being rejected from the organization, which is true. You can read all about it. I guess the issue was that she was critical of Israel, and so they didn't want to have her there. She's offended. And then think about what a jilted lover can do. How often have you heard the story of the jilted lover who then murdered the woman who rejected him? It happens all the time. Usually it's a guy killing the woman. When I see what Candace is doing, I see rejection, jealousy, anger, and now that Charlie's gone, she wants revenge. I don't understand why else you dedicate 3 months to vagaries with the only purpose is stop supporting Turning Point USA. The excuse they want to give, and I love this, is that the only reason I'm criticizing Candace is because I'm trying to get back in the good graces of Turning Point USA. I'm the one who made the video saying I'm not going. They invited me back and I said no. I don't want to go. I'm not going to go. It is what it is. They can do whatever they want. I live in a totally different world, and I hate the political grifter class and everything that's going on with this stuff. But you know what? Why it's important? Some of you may be saying, what is the reason to talk about this? Why is this in the news again? This is 1.2 million views from Nick Fuentes. There are questions right now in every major media organization. What is going to happen in the midterms? And the people that once stood together are now all fighting with each other. And I got to tell you, I am black-pilled on politics right now. Trump talking about H-1Bs and Chinese visas. I'm like, okay, well, why am I sticking my neck out in this way? Why am I running the risk of the DOJ under the Biden administration threatening me and my family for people like Candace Owens? Why would I want to do that? Or the people who believe in what she says when she lies and burns down everything Charlie stood for. Why would I want to be involved in that? Bro, I'd much rather live in a van down by the river. There's a reason why this has never been the biggest podcast in the world, why I don't take the political route and pursue it the way most of these people do, why we don't have PR crafting messages or writing scripts for me. And there's a reason why there's been periods where we've burned tons of subscribers standing up for people that many people hated. Because I've always just said what I thought, and I'm not playing any stupid PR games. And I've always said, if that means people don't follow me, I appreciate you following me as long as you did. I'm going to go live in a van down by the river with a smile on my face. This is what the political space is turning into. We had a good run for the past 7 or 8 years where a coalition formed and people said, we agree on these things and we have to stop the woke psychopathy. Candace now represents psychopathic grifter content and cultism more than anything else we've seen on the left. And she is the biggest threat to the coalition on the right and our victories that we're trying to attain in 2026 and 2028. It's her. Democrats are no real threat, to be completely honest, because they don't stand for anything. Even among internal Democrat polling, they don't agree with each other. Internal Democrat polling now says Democrats are more interested in identity issues than actual economic issues. Okay, the Republicans have an opportunity to buck the historic trend and win the midterms when they already control the House, the Senate, and the executive branch. What's the biggest threat to our potential victory? Candace Owens. Even Nick Fuentes is calling her out. That's how crazy it's gotten. So I tell you this, my friends, if that's the direction we're really going to go in the next year or so, I don't see how we win if the right is composed of 2 different political worldviews. This means you're going to have the Democrat cultists, the MAGA right, and the Candace right, or whatever you want to call it, and Democrats will get the edge and win.
I mean, I think that the Democrats are going to win anyways, like regardless of this kind of stuff. I think that all signs are indicating that, unless there's some kind of midterms, yeah. Because I mean, all signs are indicating that, and I don't see any significant uptick in the economy on the horizon. There's a time where, you know, there's a lot of people that say, you know, it's bad that the Republicans have always been, you know, graph go up, and I understand that argument, but if the graph isn't going up, if people don't feel like their money is able, you know, can pay for groceries, they can't pay their bills, people are definitely going to vote for the other team. So
or stay home.
Or stay home. Well, I mean, they'll make sure that the people in power lose, whether that means they don't go out and support them, or they go out and they actually vote against them.
Gas prices have been down.
Gas prices are down, and that has an effect on the economy. But the prices overall Like, they haven't gone down. And the fact that Donald Trump was doing the same thing that Joe Biden was doing and saying, no, you're wrong about what you're experiencing at the grocery store. You're wrong about what you're experiencing when you're trying to pay your bills and stuff. That is bad news. So this kind of stuff, I think it's bad for the coalition. I think that it's bad for whatever you want to call the MAGA coalition. But I think at the end of the day, this stuff is still a distraction, and I think part of the reason why why this stuff is going on is because there isn't actual big tangible victories that people can actually talk about. So people are blackpilling. They're saying things aren't getting done, and then you end up with this kind of stuff getting oxygen.
Well, I mean, Candace has created a murder mystery drama that seeks to destroy Turning Point, which was pivotal in Trump's victory in 2024.
Yeah.
So this is the biggest threat that the right faces in actually stopping the communist rise on the left.
Saying that Candace herself is the biggest threat right now, I think is giving her way too much power. Because
she has 165,000 concurrent viewers.
Yeah, I
on
know.
her
I
show.
am absolutely agreeing with you. But what she's doing is she's creating a massive bubble, and it's going to pop. Because what she's doing is not sustainable. At some point,
Agreed.
or the lies are going to just blow up, and everybody's going to find out that they have been wasting a bunch of time on fairy tales. And that's it. And right now it looks pretty bad. But I think now even Nick Fuentes is calling her out. I mean, I know that he's never been a big fan of her, but it's crucial that we're seeing this kind of divide right now because he's calling her out on something that's very valid. He's calling out the hypocrisy and that she has gaps in her logic. There is no logic. There is no consensus in anything that she's promoting anymore. And I think that's the biggest issue. And at some point, we've got to get back to reasonable discussions because this is a distraction. These are fairy tales, and fairy tales are very intriguing to a lot of people, but they will blow up at some point. Because as soon as you have to face the facts, right now we're all very comfortable, so we don't have to face the facts. So it's nice to get comfortable with a fairy tale, but this is not sustainable. And so I do have to say, have to give Nick Fuentes a lot of credit for how he handled the death of Charlie Kirk. Not just this, but I saw how he reacted, and he was genuinely grieving, even though he admitted that he didn't like Charlie Kirk while he was alive, and he never had a good relationship with him. They were basically enemies in a way, at least from a political perspective, but they were not enemies as people. And he respected Charlie for what he was doing, and he didn't fabricate any conspiracy theories around Turning Point USA. And I think that is crucial. That is way more important.
You know what? I think you're right. I have a new conspiracy theory.
Let's go.
After the death of Charlie Kirk, Candace realized there was no unifying force on the right. So she decided that she can be that villain. She can be that person because, it's the hero. What is it? The hero that we need, not the one we deserve.
Yeah.
And so what's happening now is Nick Fuentes, Tim Pool, Dave Rubin, James Lindsay are all finding themselves standing side by side in criticizing Candace Owens. She has become the Sauron of the army against the armies of Middle Earth, and all of the weirdest political factions are now agreeing with each other because Candace is crazy.
Even the right and the woke right can come together.
Yes. Right, it's no coincidence that this Nick tweets this after he did a 2.5 hour conversation with Steven Crowder to, figure out their differences and how they can come together.
Yeah.
I think that in the long run, Nick's audience and the message that Nick has, especially if he's moderating his message, that's something that young people are going to actually pay attention to. And it speaks to things that young people actually care about. I think that the stuff that Candace is talking about, I think that it is detrimental to the overall right. And I think that it's basically just, the View. It's just like Tim says, it's just murder mystery stuff. It's just drama.
Indeed.
There needs to be a new Blake Lively type story that you're interested in so she can move on.
But she didn't even finish any of those murder mysteries. Right? Like the Blake Lively thing ended on and there's a cliffhanger, and then the Bridget McCrone stuff, there's no resolution there. I do think she's going to get vaporized. Like, to your points, Naomi, I think the McCrone thing is apocalyptic for her. And it's not because she's right or wrong. It's because France is going through the motions, but you have a nation state at the highest level trying to shut down Candace Owens. Donald Trump is not going to sacrifice foreign policy for Candace Owens.
Yeah.
So when France says we want this taken care of, I'd be willing to bet people in the State Department are like, file your lawsuit. We'll make sure you win. And she's going to get summary judgment, and it's going to be, they're going to Alex Jones her. They're going to be like, we're taking your stuff. This is the weirdest thing. You know, I try to look at probabilities and how things make sense. And Candace is very smart. So it makes no sense that she would intentionally expose herself to liability in this way with Bridget McCrone. You'll notice that she makes a lot of statements about Turning Point that are relatively vague so that she doesn't expose herself to defamation liability. Like when she said, quote, I shouldn't quote it, but she said, I'm paraphrasing, something to the effect of, I can say with full confidence that I believe. Right? That's a legal statement. Yeah. So if I said something like, I made this point yesterday, but I'll say it for this right now. I can confirm 100% that I feel Candace Owens killed Charlie Kirk. She killed him. Now, what did I really say?
You feel a certain
I
way.
can confirm 100% that I feel she killed Charlie Kirk. You say it like that, and then if she ever tries to sue me, I'll be like, I just confirmed that I feel that way. I'm allowed to feel that way. That's not defamation. That's legalese. She does things like that. On the Bridget McCrone thing, it's defamation per se. You can't accuse someone of having some kind of disgusting ailment. That's the words they use in the law. She's going to lose that. She has to have known she's going to lose this. And if that's the case, why do it? It doesn't make any sense.
And also,
Maybe she believes it.
yeah, but who cares that? Why is it such a big deal that Macron has, maybe doesn't have a thing under their pants? Why is that a big deal? Because of the drama, right?
No, because Bridget McCrone will be murdered if Bridget McCrone travels to Saudi Arabia. That's why. So if any Qatari, Middle Eastern individual, royalty or otherwise, believes this is a trans person in a homosexual relationship coming to their country, it's going to present diplomatic problems for France. And Candace is pumping that stuff out.
That's weird. So
that is an issue. So this was true with Peter Thiel when he got ousted by, I think it was Gawker. Was it Gawker back in the day?
That was what it was, right?
He got outed as being gay. And they all laughed and they were like, haha, we can do whatever we want. Well, the issue is if he flies to a foreign country for a business meeting, they could kill him. And that's why it's a problem.
But why does Candace care?
Yeah.
Why is that so relevant?
Agreed.
Does it have a negative impact on our politics? I don't know.
No, but it makes her money and gets her views.
Yeah, like it doesn't.
But it doesn't because she's going to lose.
That's what I don't understand. Yeah. And so then when I think about it, let me ask you guys a few questions. Whether she believes it or not, she's smart enough to understand legal liability and the ability to prove something in court, right? So you can't win this. So the presumption is she has to understand she will be sued and lose. The question then is, if she knew she would be sued and lose, she's not going to make money from doing it. It will destroy her career in the long run. Why then do it? Like what conclusions can we come to if we're thinking about an individual who is calculating and intelligent? Why would they make a move knowing they'll be sued into oblivion?
I think maybe she would have a backer that even if she loses all the money, they will compensate her money.
But what
back
is
to
the
her.
end goal of calling Bridget McCrone a man?
Jeez, I don't know.
Fame?
She's already got
Fame?
She's got 100,000 or 150,000 people watching her show today. I can't imagine it's fame.
Fame, perhaps.
Maybe all the other conspiracy theories were already occupied by some group or influencer, and so she had to pick something that was still free. I don't know.
That was such
Indeed.
a crazy conspiracy
So let
theory,
me add a few more ingredients to the mix then. Okay. She has recently come out and told people to get refunds on their donations to Turning Point USA, which could literally end the organization very quickly if a large enough amount of people do it.
She's a commie. I was good.
So I can get a refund from France.
Okay, and let's add one more thing to the mix. Her lawyers work in the same building as the feds.
She works for the CIA.
Maybe.
Ooh.
Left the CIA.
Candace Owens' lawyers work out of the same building as the feds. Why is none of the people who follow are asking this question how this makes sense?
Candace is
I have to be completely honest. We have corporate lawyers. We have many of them. None of them work in buildings where feds work. That is very, very weird. And I'm curious about her communications with these lawyers over the issue. Has she not gone to them and say, why are you at the same building as the feds?
And during her little video, it just sounded like she had no idea that they were in the same building.
Right.
She was blindsided.
Because perhaps she's just doing what she's told. She's just saying what she's told to say.
I can-
And that's why she's not concerned about being sued into oblivion, because she is putting out the message that she is told to put out. And that's why, despite claiming if you criticize Israel, you'll be banned, YouTube props her up. So let's put all these ingredients together and ask those that are faithful viewers of Candace Owens. She did something that made no sense, that was a clear defamation slam dunk that'll get her company destroyed and sued into oblivion. She's advocating the destruction of Turning Point, telling people to pull their money out. Her lawyers operate out of the same building as federal agents, DEA, FBI, Secret Service. Her own admission, and YouTube props her up the whole time.
It proves it.
It does.
No, what she says.
She's
I
an
can now
asset.
say with 100% certainty that I believe that Candace is a spy.
She's a CIA.
I can actually say that I genuinely think Candace is a Fed.
That's all sounds very fetish.
Fed isn't the right word for it, but deep state or something like that.
Agent Owens.
Why is Nick Fuentes banned from every platform, but Candace Owens is propped up on every platform?
Yeah.
So again, Alex Jones says stuff about Sandy Hook. They ban him. He gets sued into oblivion. Candace Owens says crazy stuff about Turning Point USA, Bridget McCrone. YouTube puts her on the front page. Spotify pumps her to #1. All of it is A-OK. And her lawyers work in the same building as the feds. Why do your lawyers work in a building with federal agents? Answer the question. There's no answer. There's literally nothing you can say. Oh, it's just a coincidence that I hired a law firm that's in the same building as the feds. What?
And then acted as
Whoops! I slipped and landed in a federal office with a bunch of federal agents.
And you could argue that she just aggravated her message since Trump got into office and now times have changed. But Nick Fuentes, I believe, just recently tried to start a YouTube channel and it got shut down immediately. So the different kinds of treatments are...
And he's calling her out.
Yeah.
So why is it that Candace is allowed to say crazy things that have resulted in massive lawsuits? YouTube doesn't care. In fact, they want to promote her more. She is accused. She's pushed all this conspiracy content, which YouTube says conspiracy stuff is banned.
Federal agent.
Look, I don't know that she's a federal agent,
Mossad.
but I'll say this:
Definitely works for Mossad.
it is a fact of her own accidental admission that the law firm representing her is in the same building as federal agents.
It's crazy.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. Just
The
asking
people
questions.
that don't ask that question, that follow her, like this is the first thing I'll say to anybody when they're like, I watch Candace, I'll be like, she's a Fed. Like you don't accidentally hire a law firm in a federal building.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Like, how is this? And then she accidentally revealed it on her own show. And then she had no answer. Oh, it's a registered agent. What? They registered in the same building as the feds?
Yep.
That 10-minute her 10-minute video on that, and just to end up at the end there being at the same building, like, blew my mind. I was like, what the F?
But she didn't know it when she told it.
Well, that's what I mean. That's like,
Yeah.
yeah, the whole.
And then what actually happened was people didn't realize it. The people that called her out were like, she accidentally posted her own address. Yeah. This is what happened. On her show, she said she got an email that said these Egyptian planes, I think it was the Egyptian planes, had federal vehicles going from the airport to this building at a certain address in Delaware. And then when she said the address in Delaware and then said, look, the feds operate out of there, some Democrats were like, that's actually her address. Then a journalist came out and said, no, guys, the feds actually do work there. And then I'm like, wait, hold on. This is actually really crazy. Her own lawyers are working in the same building as the feds. And I responded immediately. I said, how come the narrative is not the feds are spying on her or she is a Fed? How come that is not part of this conversation? Because Nick Fuentes doesn't have anything like this.
No.
Nick doesn't work with any Fed building people.
And there's a
We
lot of
don't.
people. There's a lot-
Crowder doesn't. Daily Wire doesn't.
There's a lot
All
of
of the
people that-
people accused of working for Israel don't have federal agent lawyers.
And there's a lot of people that say that Nick.
Federal agent lawyers.
Federal, yeah.
No,
federal,
I love it.
Federal agent
people.
lawyers. Whatever.
You know.
All right, we're going to go to your chats and rants, my friends. So smash the like button, share the show with literally everyone you know. It really does help. And make sure you join us at timcast.com by going to timcast.com and clicking join us. To get in the Discord server and carry on the conversation, we'll be at the, we're having the uncensored portion of the show, 10 p.m., rumble.com/Timcast IRL. But before we get to your chats, we got a great sponsor. It is Kickoff. Holiday spending piles up fast, my friends. Gifts, travels, parties, and it's easy for your credit to fall behind. That's why you should check out Kickoff, the #1 credit building app. Kickoff makes it simple. Sign up in just minutes, no credit check, and begin seeing progress fast. Users with credit under 600 grow an average of 84 points in their first year with on-time payments. And with autopay, you can ensure you never miss one. Plans start at just $5 a month and no hidden fees. And even rent reporting can help build credit. It's easy, affordable, and truly effective. Help your credit survive the holidays with Kickoff. For a limited time, get your first month free. Go to getkickoff.com/Timcast today. That's Kickoff without the C. Get KIKOFF.com/Tim. You must sign up via getkickoff.com/Timcast to activate the offer. Offer applies to new Kickoff customers first month only, subject to approval. Offer subject to change. Average first year credit score impact of plus 84 points between January 2023 and January 2024. For Kickoff credit account users who started with a score below 600, who paid on time, and who had no delinquencies or collections added to their credit profile during this period, late payments may negatively impact your credit score. Individual results may vary. Check it out, and thanks for sponsoring the show, guys, and let's see what y'all have to say. All right. Shanitz Wilder says, great job on getting pool water in Mother Shuckers, Tim. I'll have to go get some when I'm back up there in late January. Mother Shuckers is a great place. And if you don't like Joe Biden, if you like Donald Trump, you'll also love Mother Shuckers because they are unabashed and they've got signs and stickers everywhere and it's great fun. So if you happen to find yourself in Martinsburg, West Virginia, and you want to get some great food, Mother Shuckers is selling pool water. Not pool water, but pool brand water. You know, you get it.
When's the spa water coming out? We need the
Sparkling?
Yeah, we need sparkling water.
Yeah, spa water was the next idea. Yeah. And then what were we going to do? Toilet water was the chocolate drink. I don't know how many people want to drink that one.
Public pool water was the lemon water.
Pond water was green tea. Yeah. And then what was it? Public pool water is the lemon flavor. All right. Mythos says, I still think it was a woman because of the gait. If the hips don't rock when they walk, they got a sock, and those hips were rocking. Agreed. This person walked like a female and bent over at the hips to drop something down. I was, when they were like, it's this guy, I'm like, really?
I listened to your segment today, and I was working, cleaning up, getting ready for the winter time, and I was doing a lot of bending over. So I was practicing, and I either put my leg up as I go down to balance my body, or I have one foot in front of the other to balance my body, but standing legs straight and kind of bending over and pick stuff up, it feels weird. It's very unnatural.
If a man, so lean up against a wall and then lean forward at the hips. If you are a man, you will fall over. If you are a woman, you will have no problem. This is one of those viral TikTok challenges they do all the time where it's like a man and a woman will stand against a wall and then try and bend down and pick something up. Or they do one where it's like pick up a chair.
Yeah.
And the man and the woman will lean on a chair and then the women will just go right up with it. And the men can't stand up.
Why didn't Candace Owens challenge Bridget Macron to do that, like against the
wall? Yeah.
It's been over way faster. She could have done it, no embarrassment.
Would have solved the issue right away.
Yeah. Cupo Sooth says, no way a black man waved at police. Dead giveaway, dead giveaway. Right, because in the surveillance footage of the pipe bomber, they wave at the Capitol Police. And so they were like, yeah, no way.
I saw a tweet. It said Jake Tapper skewered for calling black DC pipe bomb suspect Brian Cole Jr. a white man on air.
He did?
Did he?
He did.
Yeah.
There's a video of it, yeah.
What, really?
Yeah. Let me see. I'll find it and put
The
it.
name, he probably...
Well, to be fair, people were sharing a bunch of different pictures of random Brian Coles.
But like, there's like a picture up there with him that's like of. I guess he's against a green screen though, right? Like he can't see the image behind him.
John Rambo says, is anyone else impressed with the silent takeover of the UK? Does that mean U.S. big tech is complicit or willfully ignorant with the UK government in silencing dissent? 12,000 arrests a year. I watched a video on Instagram where police showed up to some woman's house and they confiscated her daughter's phone for saying a naughty word or something like this. That's the UK. There's a video going viral right now of like a dude in Calgary like getting arrested for not apologizing about his faith or something like this. I don't know exactly what happened.
Jeez,
You know?
do you guys have that issue?
It's just the same in Germany. You just don't hear as much about it because Germans are not as vocal about it. And also because there's the language barrier between English and Americans, and the UK, they speak English too. So there's a much better connection, especially on social media between them. Now we're starting to see more from Germany too, but it's like for the past years, there's been this silent tyranny in Germany. And the people of Germany, they are more obedient, more compliant, and they like to stay in line and not snitch on each other or at least not snitch on the government. They like to snitch on each other, unfortunately, to the government. But they don't like to go against the grain and violate the establishment narrative. And especially doing that outside of the German bubble is very much looked down upon. When I first started doing more international stuff and speaking English, the number one comment that I got was, in Germany, you got to speak German. And and now they're starting to appreciate it more because it's becoming increasingly useful and necessary for us to build this bridge between Germany, or rather Europe and America, to actually understand that it's an issue of Western society and we the people versus some form of globalism that we actually got to defeat. And since Germany has the biggest impact in the European Union, that we got to take down the European Union. And I personally think, because why is it so bad in the UK now, even though they had the Brexit? I think the Brexit was hijacked. And it was basically like a psyop. Yeah.
It wasn't supposed to happen. It did. And then they tried to sabotage it.
Yeah.
It took years. They never got it done, and then they screwed it all up. All right. I'm assuming this is pronounced soupy. Per Timcast tradition, we are on our way to meet our twins. They are babies 4 and 5. We have more than doubled our replacement. God is good. Children are the fountain of youth. Have more babies.
4 and 5.
Yeah, hell yeah, bro.
Congratulations.
Good team.
Wonderful.
Good to hear.
Concrete Haiti says Massey is pushing hard for a federal constitutional carry bill. How would Naomi feel about something like that would affect Germany and the AfD? If that passed there, would she be comfortable moving back? This means you have a right to carry a gun without a permit.
I would still be arrested, likely.
No, he's saying if in Germany they said you can now legally carry a gun concealed wherever you want.
Oh, I see. The only way that I could comfortably come back to Germany is if the AfD actually makes it into the government. Otherwise, the bureaucracy, I think, is being severely underestimated in Germany because there are so many ways that the government can get you. They're trying to shut down the most popular party, and I think that's a huge issue. So unless the AfD actually makes it into the government, they will find so many loopholes to get you as an individual, and especially if you're a threat to the government, that it's just currently, sadly, I love Germany so much, especially during the Christmas season, but it's impossible for me to return right now. I would love for us to have gun rights in Germany, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. And also you have to consider that if we were able to carry guns in Germany, the first and probably the only ones who would feel comfortable carrying guns would be all the Islamists that we imported. So I think that would be an issue because Germans are just not used to it. Germans don't like to think about the idea of just trying something completely new and trying guns because we're still a bit afraid of the whole idea. So our society would have to get used to it eventually. And I am totally in favor of gun rights, but that has to be a long-term issue. And right now we have so many illegals in the country that are here as Germans. The number one birthday in Germany is January 1st. And that's just because a lot of illegals or like people who came across the border say are registered as having their birthdays on January 1st. So yeah, it's a very bad system. The entire system is just very infected with corruption. And therefore, we need to change the entire system from scratch.
I was under the impression that the German government had made the AfD illegal to some degree.
There are instances where they have already banned, for example, candidates for mayor positions in one of the largest cities in Germany, for example. And they have made the AfD a far-right extremist party, which just gives German intelligence the authority to investigate them, to put them under surveillance, to raid their houses whenever they want to. I have a friend from the AfD who has a big impact because he's in the European Parliament, and they just raided his house for, I think, the 28th time.
28th?
Yeah, he told me that on the phone recently, and I said, wait, didn't you say 22nd time recently? And he said, yeah, but that was 4 weeks ago.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
All right. Pinochet says, the prosecutor also prosecuted the Proud Boys. Don't worry, Tim. I'm sure the DOJ won't throw the case and are working very hard for justice. Interesting. So the same prosecutor going after this Brian Cole guy went for Proud Boys? Is that the case?
I'll Google chat it.
Fact check. Ice Court says, how will the government cater to young people when they seem not to be pleased with anything that even Trump does, Black Pill, not grateful and want instant gratification? American dream does not fall from trees.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just about instant gratification as much as it is they literally can't see a path forward at all. Like there isn't a future for them. It's not about getting it right now. It's saying there isn't even a foreseeable future where things seem to improve, and that's a very, very hard road.
Yeah. All right. Ditch says, okay, now I'm depressed. I'm old enough to still think of Halle Berry as a hottie, not a menopausal old crone. Just lost in the mix, old Gen Z.
She still posts all sorts of thirst trap photos on the internet, though, so you can still look at her that way if you want to.
Yeah.
Her name is Jocelyn Ballantyne. She appears on the criminal docket of the Proud Boys seditious conspiracy. So yeah.
What Mythos says, when he publicly apologizes for this, I may listen to him, and then he mentions the quote I'm not going to read of Nick Fuentes' loyalty pledge. Apparently, there's a viral video. Is that like Nick said? Everyone watching, make a loyalty pledge right to me now, or something like that.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah,
I'm not familiar with it, but
I mean, can imagine.
Oh, here's an important one. Evan for US says, perhaps Candace is doing what Lelouch from Code Geass did, and pitting the world against him, make himself the enemy of mankind, and have her fall to unite the world. Right in this case.
Oh, that's amazing.
yeah.
What's that reference to?
Code Geass. Anime.
Oh, the anime. Oh, I heard about it. I never watched it yet.
Got to have a bad
Serge
guy.
knew immediately.
Kawaii, how do you say, Kawi writer? Candace used to be a progressive activist before she became conservative. She still acts like a leftist. She spreads division and lies, then hides when she is given the opportunity to debate. That's the funniest thing. It's like they said, okay, come on this date, we'll do the show. And she goes, well, I can't. Even Nick Fuentes is like, oh, you got to be kidding me. That's I was talking to these young guys, and they were asking me about Candace, and I just said, isn't it weird that she gets propped up and Nick gets banned? And they were like, yeah. I'm like, I just think that's weird. Like, how come she's on YouTube and Nick isn't? What's going on?
I still think it's just
all
because
about?
the old trolliness that Nick used to do, the old, he used to say things just to throw bombs and stuff. I think that's the thing that people find most distasteful about Nick. And I honestly think that's why he's moderating his tone with a lot of stuff.
Jaded 2000 says, dude, I love you and Candace both. I can't stand this. Well, listen, when this all started, we actually were at Turning Point, and even the Turning Point guys said, respect what she's doing, and we're friends. So, and she was like digging into conspiracy theories. But when she got to the point where she told everyone to pull their donations from that godforsaken organization, I was just like, wow, man.
It's rough.
Yeah, this is, because in order to build your audience, you've got to one up every single day. If you don't, you get boring. And people don't want to watch boring. I mentioned this the other day. I was talking to this guy. He said he was a big fan, and he used to watch Charlie all the time. He unsubbed from Charlie, and it's sad because he knows there's no more content. But he goes, to be honest, he's like, I haven't really watched a lot of political stuff lately because it's the same thing every single day. Well, not if you watch Candace. With Candace, it's a new murder mystery, mystery box every single day, something new to get confused and about without any real answers. So that's the direction she's gone. That's it. If you want, look, I got to be honest, like, has she told you anything? Honestly, has she told you anything? She said that they're Egyptian aircraft. Okay, let's say there are Egyptian aircraft flying around. Who are they? Who's flying them? What are they doing and why? She hasn't given an answer. Oh, so maybe they're completely unrelated? Possibly. Seems weird though, right? Yeah, that's about it.
The seems weird is the thing that gets people coming back. It seems weird, and then people can run their imagination and come up with all kinds of their own ideas about what they think happened, and then they can go back to listen to Candace, and she can pontificate more and make more illusions.
Yeah, I was going to say, what the most demoralizing thing is? How cowardly most people on the right actually are.
Yes.
The Republican Party is a bunch of cowards. I'll give some credit to Ben Shapiro and Steven Crowder because they've stood up for whatever, Megyn Kelly, come on. What are you doing? Tucker Carlson's great. I like him, but there are a lot of cowards on the right who are just too scared to say anything about all the BS that's going on. And then, then you've got Trump sycophants, and it's just like, ugh. The Democratic Party is some weird sludge mess. I don't even know how to describe what the Democratic Party is. But man, I got to tell you, I talk to people out in the wild, and it's like politics is so cooked. We've reached the apex. There's nothing more to be said. Trump can't be any more or less Hitler, right? It's just there's nowhere to go. So, I don't know. Maybe I can just come out and be like, Candace is trying to kill me or whatever. And then
I thought
people
you
will
said
be
that
like,
the other
whoa,
day.
Yeah, yeah.
he's trying to kill me?
Yeah, I thought so.
Oh, did I?
Maybe.
No, I don't think so.
No?
I can confirm 100% that Candace is trying to kill me in a video game.
In Minecraft.
In Minecraft.
In my brain.
All right. Shaggy for America says, I was mad thinking Candace was right, but it doesn't make sense. Charlie liked Israel as a state, but not Bibi. He got Trump elected. The deep state wants this guy. The deep state wants this. You guys are fools. This is yeah, right. So let me point something out. Charlie Kirk and Turning Point were pivotal in the election of the Republican Party in the House, the Senate, and Donald Trump. Why is Candace working for the deep state? And I'm not going to play stupid games and be like, oh, the feds and all that stuff. No, like, no one is helping the deep state more than Candace Owens right now. Nobody is more damaging to Charlie's legacy than Candace Owens right now. And if we were to act only upon actions and not words, and you had to, and someone asked you, who do you think hated Charlie Kirk the most? Candace Owens. She's doing everything she can to burn down everything he spent his life building. And his family, who needs these resources. It's like wild to be like, pull your donations. Are you kidding? Like, what is his wife going to do if Turning Point is destroyed by everyone pulling their donations? How is she going to have money for her children? I mean, what's the idea?
Yeah, and I find it very disingenuous that Candace was the one who, in the beginning of her starting to attack Turning Point USA, said, I will stop immediately as soon as Erica Kirk comes out and tells me to stop. So she was putting herself on the side of Erica Kirk, and I thought that was very pretentious because, yeah, Erica Kirk is not saying anything because she's grieving and she has a lot to deal with. Why would she come out and say, I hate Candace Owens, or like Candace Owens needs to stop? She just probably just doesn't want to be involved with the drama right now, understandably. So I just think that's very disrespectful to pretend like she's the only one who can stand up for Erica Kirk, and like she's best friends with Erica Kirk, which I don't think is the case. Yeah. And clearly Charlie Kirk had his criticisms of Netanyahu, and I totally understand that kind of perspective. But at the same time, he also stood firmly behind Turning Point USA. And if that was not the case, then he would have made it known to the public. So now to try to destroy Turning Point USA, if Charlie Kirk was still alive right now, he would still be running Turning Point USA. So if Candace was trying to take down Turning Point USA now, if Charlie was still alive, then it would be completely against what he's promoting. Her claiming that they killed him, I just don't see it. We have not seen any evidence from her.
No, if I was a normie off the streets and I just came into the situation to listen and hear what's going on, what she's saying and what's going on in the situation, I'm like, why does this lady hate this company? Why did she hate Charlie? What's going on? Why, I would think that. It
would, if you didn't know any of the backstory, you would come across as being like, wow, she really hates these people, huh?
And if Erica Kirk secretly agreed with Candace Owens and she just couldn't say anything in fear of her life or whatever, then I don't think she would continue to run Turning Point USA, but she has been promoting Turning Point USA. So that wouldn't make sense either.
Yeah.
Kay Ferrari says, once Candace changed her ads and she started talking about Blake Lively, I stopped listening to her. She knows her audience is now liberal, and liberals hate Charlie, so they love that she is destroying Turning Point USA.
Also, it splits the difference between the two. It's the same type of drama that you get from a Hollywood story, but it also involves politics. It's a sweet spot as far as the type of storytelling she's doing.
Indeed. All right, we got time for a couple more. We got Jason Dix. He says, shout out to the Discord. That's right. Shows in the morning. What is the Cast Brew?
Yeah.
Morning Cast Brew. Yeah. There you go. You got the 6 p.m. show with Slick and Olivia, and one of the IRL co-hosts tends to join in from the crew. Then you've got the After Dark show. So if you want to find community of like-minded individuals, you go to timcast.com, you click join us.
I do like that Olivia. She's pretty great.
Yeah. And we do a book club sometimes every Mondays around 7 or 8 on the Discord if you like reading books.
Have you met that Olivia chick?
Do you know who she is?
I mean, I won't say anything here.
She seems all right. Yeah. She seems all right.
All right. Here's one from XZ. It says, Tim, can you ask your guest this? I'm going to try. Naomi, was ist dein Lieblingsstadt in Deutschland? Was ist dein Lieblingsschloss? Mein Lieblingsstadt ist Heidelberg und mein Lieblingsschloss ist Neuschwanstein. We here in America are glad to have you here, Naomi. How did I do?
Thank you very much. You did great. I understood everything.
You're very
So
kind.
they asked me.
I didn't.
That was great.
No, I actually did. I actually understood everything except for Lieblingsstadt.
Yeah, they asked me what my favorite city is in Germany, and then my favorite castle in Germany.
Oh.
So my favorite city in Germany, probably Munich, because it's one of the few cities that have not been destroyed yet by mass immigration. So it's pretty nice there still. I'm from Münster. And I like it in Münster visually. It's the city of bikes. We compete with Amsterdam, basically. But it's very strong on the leftism side, and we have a lot of Antifa. And they hate me, and they want to kill me. That's not good.
Does the cathedral in Cologne count as a castle? I know that it's technically a cathedral, but man.
Yeah, it doesn't count as a castle, but it's amazing.
It's so impressive.
It's very impressive. So my favorite castle, I would probably have to say Neuschwanstein too, but that's mostly because I haven't seen many castles. Unfortunately, I've seen a few of them, but more smaller ones in the region where I'm from. I've not been that much in the castle regions in Germany because I'm more northwest. But I like that question. Thank you very much.
Yeah. In all seriousness, I think they wrote it in a way that's like as close to English.
Sure.
Because, English is Germanic and there's,
Yeah.
it's,
Similarities.
You even sound aggressive speaking English as a German.
Sorry?
Germans, their language is aggressive. Even as you
aggressive.
speak English,
Yes.
it comes off as, you're aggressive in the English.
that was the classic Simpsons joke about Russian. Lisa walks up to the Russian guy and he starts screaming at her and he's screaming like, "Oh, no problem, little girl. Let me help you with the directions that you need." And she runs screaming. Ah. He just sounded like he was screaming at her, but he was being polite.
This is a big meme with German, though.
Yes.
As a whole. German is the
always
most
sound
aggressive
angry.
language. I see all these memes on Instagram, for example, where you have a bunch of words where they show you what these words are spelled as and how you say them in different languages, and then the last one is always German. For example, butterfly.
Yeah.
Schmetterling.
I was just gonna say the Schmetterling.
Dilly2000 says, "Tim, tell us about your private meeting with Bibi." I did, like several times, but you don't care. It's like this. It's like the weirdest psycho obsession. He advocated for war. He wanted the U.S. to get involved in war with Iran. People laughed at him. Some people agreed with him, and that was the end of the meeting. He actually spent a long time talking about, I think it was like Greece or something.
They want you to say that you walked away with a big basket of cash.
Well, that's true too, but I mean, it is. I'm kidding.
It's like 10,000 of those $7,000 checks.
Any world leader comes to the White House and says, "I'm invited to meet them," I'm going. Like insane. You know what I mean? In fact, I didn't go to the Pentagon, which I kind of thought was like, maybe I should go to the Pentagon. Here we go. I like this one. Panda God says only 20,000 people watching. Candace has 5 times that. Here's $5 for a failing podcast. Like this is kind of the point. First thing I'll say is, well, I mean, we're on Rumble where we have more viewers, and we had like 40K last night, so we're in the top 10. What were we, like number 7 or something like that yesterday? I don't know. But that's just like a live show. And I even said this the other day, and it's like there's nothing you can say to these wingnuts. Even when I said, if we did just one show, we'd probably be 60-70% the size of Candace. She has a big show with mass appeal. And they're just like, aha, your show's smaller than ours. I'm like, yes, it is. Always has been. She's got way more subscribers on her channel than this channel. I don't like, am I going to be like, Brad Pitt's so famous, I'm so mad? I don't know,
What does his podcast do?
I mean, Dax Shepard has like one of the biggest podcasts. You know what I mean?
See that photo spread of like all the famous podcasters for The Hollywood Reporter, and Ben Shapiro's there, and he's kind of sitting off to the side. He's like the other people didn't want to like take a picture with him. Felt bad for him.
Poor Ben.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think the real opportunity right now is to just totally abandon politics and talk about drunk raccoons. So that's what we're going to do. Smash the like button.
I'll
Share
be
the
on
show.
every night if you're doing that.
Yeah. Share the show with everyone you know. I mean, when the show first started, everyone's talking about how YouTube keeps recommending the licking the toilet TikTok challenge.
Oh, geez.
And I'm like, you know what the problem is? And I'm going to be honest with everybody. We started the show apolitical, but political topics were pop culture. It was because of COVID. The election happened, and we got very political. Then over the next year, we drifted a little bit away from politics and did more. It was like often culture war headlines and things like that. But then politics became more and more pronounced. Trump getting arrested, everything became hyper political. And then over the last year, we've had terror attacks. So everything has just gotten to the apex of political, and it's drifted the core audience of this show into a heavier political space. Even though it didn't really start out that way, it turned into it. And I think we're drifting back away from it right now, and we probably need to, but then you've got AI, market saturation, and everything's kind of breaking up. So I don't know what's going to happen. All I know is I'm so over it, dude.
People like space weather.
I like space weather. I did a space weather video today because it was more fun.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Agreed.
Yeah.
There was a...
And, yeah, go on.
I posted something in the Slack. There was allegedly there was
a jet fell.
A jet that fell because of
Cosmic rays.
Cosmic rays from a faraway supernova that
But
possibly
the magnetosphere is
happened
supposed to stop that from happening.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah. So we're going to go to Rumble. We're going to go to rumble.com/Timcast IRL. Come hang out. We're not talking about space weather. We're going to talk about, uncensored, naughty things. There's actually a lot of stories we didn't get to. They're reporting that Speaker Mike Johnson might retire, which I doubt. It's just like Democrat propaganda, but we'll get there. You can follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. Naomi, do you want to shout anything out?
Thank you. I'm on X as Naomi Seibt. So my last name is spelled Seibt, which is a bit difficult for Americans. So Naomi and then Seibt on X. I'm not on any other platform, just mostly because they would probably ban me. And I like X. I support what Elon Musk is doing. I think that's great. So I will continue to stay on X.
Awesome. Guys, I'm Raymond G. Stanley Jr. You can follow me on X under Raymond G. Stanley Jr. I'm going to be heading over to the inverted world right now to help out Mr. Brendan Miner. We're going to do a show talking about what they talk about, good times. And join the Discord, because that's freaking fun. I was on there last night after this show talking to folks about the drunk raccoon blast. It was hilarious for everyone. And Miss Naomi, best of luck to Germany. Hopefully you guys can get back to where you once were 60 years ago, and you can make America great again. So best of luck.
You want communism back? 60 years ago, East Germany was part of the communist bloc.
I understand. Yes, Phil. But Brett.
Guys, if you want to follow me, I am on Instagram and on X at Brett Dasovic on both of those platforms. PCC has been off this week live, but I've been putting out segments the whole time, so go over to the channel and check those out. Also, I've been putting out several different audio podcasts. We had a hiccup with the RSS feed. It was not going out on Spotify. That does seem to be rectified, so if you are a Spotify listener, you can go find those shows that I was doing over there. I have another 2 coming out, one tomorrow, one today with Mikey Harlow, another one tomorrow, and another one the day after that. So stuff coming out all the way through Saturday. And then we pick back up the live show on Tuesday. Monday, we are doing a pre-record. Me and Mary will be back. And then we will be back live on Tuesday. So go to PCC on both YouTube and Rumble, and we'll see you there, guys. Thank you.
I am Phil That Remains on Twix. The band is All That Remains. We have a big announcement with Rocksmith this weekend. You can play 2 songs from this record here, Anti-Fragile. You can play Let You Go and Divine for free from December 5th through the 7th. Rocksmith on PC, mobile, or on PlayStation. So go check that out. You can check out the band on Apple Music, Amazon Music, Pandora, Spotify, YouTube, and Deezer. Don't forget, the left lane is for crime.
We will see you all over at rumble.com/TimcastIRL. Thanks for hanging out.